Thank you, Rob. Have a great call of the game. We will indeed be watching. One time, Springdale was a doormat, a laughing stock, at a long losing streak that is all turned around. When we come back, we'll talk more high school football with Mike White of the Post-Gazette. And don't forget, Steeler starting cornerback, Ike Taylor, will join us on Sports Beat a little bit later on. Stay right with us.
Severin on Sports Beat is brought to you by Edgar Snyder and Associates. There's never a fee unless we get money for you. The Pride Fighting Championships return to FSN, featuring Hollywood Henderson, Mirko Krokop, and Takanori Gomez. The Pride Fighting Championships, Sunday on FSN. It's a Pirates doubleheader on FSN Pittsburgh. The perfect time for a fresh Bucko rotation to spark the final stretch. Reds, Pirates. Coverage starts Friday at 6:30 on FSN Pittsburgh. Sponsored by Dodge.
Floating is good, clean fun. A dirty bottom, pure aggravation. Reducing RPMs, wasting fuel dollars.
The alternative? Costly cleaning or hours of toxic scrubbing. I hate this.
Environmentally safe AquaClean boat cleaner is easy to use. Simply apply, let sit, wipe, and just rinse off.
Less than an hour.
Purchase the 1 pound or the most economical 3-pound container. Order now online at aquacleanteam.com or 1-888-701-BOAT.
Glory, delivered weekly on the Highmark High School Sports Practice. Sunday mornings at 9 on FSN.
Tragedy can happen anytime, any place, to anyone. When the winds of disaster fade, one organization is always there. An army of compassion. Help turn tragedy into recovery. 1-800-SalArmy.org.
Severin on Sports Beat is brought to you by Bilco Motors, Volkswagen Mazda, home of Kid Glove Care in Leechburg.
It's a high school football Thursday, and we underscore that because Mike White, the outstanding editor, scholastic editor of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, joins us every Thursday night. Mike, this is the second week of conference play. I wondered, how do the non-conference games get scheduled? If one AD calls another one, does the WPIL get involved in the scheduling of the non-conference games?
Well, the first game of the year, Stan, for WPIL teams, the schools are responsible for scheduling that. They get contracts with other schools, and it does come down to one AD calling another AD, coaches getting together in the off-season, and usually they'll go at least a home and home for at least 2 years. Then after the first week of the season, the WPIL schedules everything the rest of the year. Even though the second week for almost everybody's non-conference, the WPIL does the scheduling starting in that second week.
Why? So teams don't get left out? I mean, does anybody in the game of musical chairs that first week, do they get left out without an opponent, or at least one in their class?
Well, there's, some of the teams choose to, they want to go after some different things. They might want to play an easy team. They might want to get a cupcake. They might want to play a tougher team. Some of them have gone against teams from out of state. So that at least gives those teams, whatever they want to do that first week. It's up to them because they have differing opinions on what they want to do in that first game. You want to, you may know that your team's not going to be real strong for the next 2 years. You might want to play somebody maybe not quite as good. And that's a good week sometimes if you're not in the same conference with a school who's your rival. You play them that first week.
And why does the WPIL get involved in the second week, even though it's non-conference?
Well, I think what they try and do from their stand is to try and get the quad A's, playing all the quad A's, triple A's, triple, doubles, single, so that you don't have, it doesn't put the onus on those schools. They get them in that second week of, playing in your own class and going from there.
Now, you have a preseason ranking in the Post-Gazette, players to watch and all that stuff, but sometimes the proof is in the pudding, and now we've had 3 weeks of play. This is the fourth weekend coming up beginning tonight, so what teams have kind of surprised you?
Well, a good surprise, we'll do that first. I think you got to look at the Sarah Eagles. Rich Bowen, I wrote a story about him for tomorrow, came over from York, turned their program around. He's done this now 4 times, turning programs stand. Sarah was one of the worst programs in the WPIL. They're 3-0. Are you kidding me? Now, they haven't beaten anybody great, and they still could fall flat in their face, but they're 3-0. That is very surprising. And you look at the other ways, I think Baldwin's been a little bit surprised the other way. 0-3, a couple of those Pitt recruits maybe not quite living up to what they were supposed to be so far, but people got to look at Baldwin and realize they only had 5 starters back from last year. Those kids still have a chance to come around. And a surprise player, Stan, I think the kid needs mention. Robbie Armstrong, Franklin Regional running back, leading rush in the WPIL. Last year, serious injury in a game early in the season, had surgery. He's playing this year with 2 metal plates and 18 screws in his foot, and he's leading the WPIAL in rushing.
Good for him. Unlike you, the screws are in his foot. You've got screws loose in your head. There you go. And the wristbone plate at Sarah was a quarterback. Remember?
Second time around at Sarah. He coached them before, turned them around. Now he came back again.
All right, good job. We're going to check out some of the best matchups for the weekend, Mike. What we got?
Well, I think the premier game, is
we have to look at
AAA.
your picture,
yeah,
too?
Why are you putting that?
I don't know.
Up there?
Wow.
God, ruined dinner.
Marino,
Ruined dinner. Hampton and Franklin Regional, I think it's the best game. Mount Lebanon and St. Clair is good, but Hampton and Franklin Regional, 2 undefeated teams. Mentioned Robbie Armstrong, the leading rusher in the WPIL this year. Steve Pastors of Hampton, leading rusher in the WPIL last year. That's a premier game.
There you go, top matchups for the weekend. Thank you, Mike. Mike, by the way, joins me on radio every Friday at 3:45. We talk about a lot of issues involving high school. Talk to you then. We'll see you again next Thursday.
All right, Sam, thank you.
All right, Mike White, the outstanding Scholastic Sports Center for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. And speaking of outstanding, this guy played an outstanding game against the Tennessee Titans last week. Ike Taylor signs our Wall of Fame. The Steeler corner joins us next on Sports Beat.
Football is more than a game in our town. It's a way of life. From the Pee-wees to the pros, we eat, sleep, and think football 24/7. And speaking of eating, after the game, treat your team to the great taste of McDonald's Quarter Pounder with Cheese Extra Value Meal, or the Double Quarter Pounder with Cheese Extra Value Meal. From our team to yours, all the best this season.
The FSN Sports Show period, tonight on FSN.
Intensity, delivered weekly on the Highmark High School Sports Practice, Sunday mornings at 9 on FSN.
The beauty of the suit is that the bottoms match the top. So all you have to do is throw on a shirt and tie, and you're out the door. Get to work earlier, your productivity goes up, you get a bigger bonus, put the kids in better schools, they get better jobs, make tons of money, buy you a home to retire to on an island. No wonder suits are coming back. Men's Warehouse. You're going to like the way you look. I guarantee it. To contact a store nearest you, call 1-800-776-SUIT.
Don't buy a used car when it's South Hills Kia. 3 vehicles, one low price, $13,995. Sedona minivan, Sorrento, or the all-new Sportage, only $13,995. One low price, $13,995.
Stop it to the Kia for me. I'll stop it to the Kia for you.
Hi, I'm Willie Parker. You are watching FSN Pittsburgh, where Steelers fans come first.
Davern on Sports Beat is brought to you by Number 1 Cochran. Bigger than ever, better than ever.
There he is, number 24, looking good. Got his fatigues on, his camouflage stuff, hiding out from those wide receivers. It's Steeler corner Ike Taylor. Ike, how you doing? Thanks for joining us tonight.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Let's get off the football track to begin with. I think everybody is aware that you're from Louisiana. What effect did the hurricane have on your family, your home? Where is that status at today?
Well, the majority of my family took a big hit. The majority, like 70% of my family, lost everything, except for my uncle and I on the West Bank. We have a house. We just have a lot of wind damage. So it wasn't that bad, but for the majority of my family, they pretty much lost everything and they have to start all over.
Now, did they live right in New Orleans, in the suburb, or further away from the city?
It's the heart of New Orleans. The heart of New Orleans, around the Superdome in New Orleans East.
And your home is, right on the river?
It's on the West Bank. It's like over the Mississippi Bridge, like 6-7 miles away from the Superdome. And that area was mostly like wind damage. So, pretty fortunate.
Yeah, that is fortunate. I mean, it's hard to look at that entire thing in terms of being fortunate, but with all the damage and devastation we saw, to only suffer wind damage, pretty remarkable. Did your family have to evacuate? Are they still in New Orleans? Do they have to go to Houston? Where are they?
Everybody's in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Baton Rouge?
Yeah, they're starting off in Baton Rouge. Whenever they can go back to New Orleans and start over again, they will go back, but for the moment, they're in Baton Rouge.
Now, was their home destroyed? Does it have to be rebuilt, or just because the city city was impassable, they had to leave.
Well, I think with the flooding, they're going to rebuild like the whole New Orleans. And, I mean, my family, the flooding was to the top of the roof, so they probably knocked the house down and probably try to rebuild or whatever.
How'd they get out, Ike? I mean, did boats come along and rescue people? How did they get out?
I don't know about with everybody else, but my family, they left Saturday night. They called me Saturday night, and they told me they was leaving, so they left like 2 days in advance.
Okay, because it hit on Monday.
Yes, sir.
We heard about Alan Faneca. He didn't know where someone was, and he kind of reconnected. During that time, what was that like for you? Although you at least knew in advance that they were getting out beforehand.
It was difficult. It was real difficult because I couldn't really talk to anybody because of my phone. I have a 504 area code, a New Orleans area code. So at the time, it was really difficult for them to get through me. So I didn't get a chance to talk to them until like 5 or 6 days later. But once I heard everybody was all right, I was pretty calm after that.
The last thing about the hurricane, with the bye week coming up after this Sunday, then New England, and you've got the bye, do you plan to go down to New Orleans and kind of check things out and see how your family's doing?
Oh, yeah, no question. I told them I'd come down there and visit them for the bye week, at least spend a couple of days. I mean, when I talked to them, they was in good spirits, so that was a plus right there. So hopefully everything will be okay.
Yeah, knock on wood. Glad they're all safe. That number you saw there was the number to contribute to the Red Cross and all these various organizations. We'll put that up for you again. Let's talk about some football. A lot of people said that there was a position open, a position to be won at corner. Willie Williams and Bill Cowher twice in training camp signaled you out as a guy having the best camp. The injury to Willie gave you an opportunity. You're going to start again Sunday, and I assume that is based on the merits of your performance against the Titans.
Hopefully, we see what Coach Cowher wants. Just try to have a good week of practice and try to carry that over to game day. But it's whatever Coach Cowher wants and the coaching staff wants. I'm just glad to contribute.
What's the main issue, Ike? This is your third year. Last year was a downer for you. What's the difference this year? Is it a matter of recognition, familiarity with your own defense, more confidence? What?
It's a little bit of both. More confident about myself and what I can do. When can I make plays? When can I try to pick it off? Or learning the defense, recognize the defense, knowing where everybody should be at, knowing when I have help, safety help, or even linebacker help at some times. The maturity, just learning the game, because I only played cornerback for 1 year in college, so actually it's like my 4th year ever playing corner. So it was a slow process, but I was fortunate enough, Coach Cowher and the coaching staff to work with me.
You know, I wanted to ask you about that. When you look back, if you had played defense, if you had played corner all 4 years of college, would you have been better prepared and for this undertaking?
No question. But through my whole entire life, I've been kind of like a slow start but finish strong type of guy. So this wasn't nothing new for me. Just like it's more mental in the NFL than anything. Everybody have, well, the majority have the physical ability to play football, but everything is mental in the NFL, and that's the part I had to really grasp, the mental part. If a guy catches a ball on you as a corner, I mean, you really can't be down. These guys get paid too, but at the same time, you still like the competitiveness.
Mental in terms of confidence, mental in terms of understanding your own defense, or mental in terms of preparation?
Preparation and consistency. Playing a corner, being a corner in the NFL, we can't take plays off. I mean, some guys like the front seven, they might mess up and get away with it. But if a corner mess up in the secondary, I mean, we the highlight of ESPN or local news. So being a corner, you gotta, if we have 70 snaps, you gotta play 70 snaps and be focused 70 snaps. You can't take 69 snaps and give up one, because that one might be the difference maker of the game.
Yeah, that's the highlight you don't want to be involved in. Last thing for you, you've developed a very interesting relationship and a close bond with Dan Rooney. Now, one would think that, you and Dan Rooney wouldn't be hanging out in the Strip District together. Now, maybe you don't, but how did that all develop? Well, you just kind of hit it off?
I don't know. He kind of grew on me. I kind of grew on him. I know in training camp, poured some water on me. So I came back after the practice and poured some water on him. But I call him Pops, so I call him Pops. He's a great guy. The whole family are great. I love the organization. And every time I think about him, I smile, because he's a great guy, but at the same time, I try to get him relaxed. Me being young, not being old, but older, yeah. Just try to get him to relax when he see me, and hopefully that's working.
That's a nice story, Ike, and you're really working hard and doing a good job. Thanks for coming in. Good luck Sunday against the Houston Texans. Ike Taylor, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back on Sports Beat right after this.
The playoffs continue on the Poker Superstars 2. The final 16 players chase Lady Luck, and a jackpot worth $1.2 million. Tournament playoffs continue Sunday on FSN. Join Stan Savran every Tuesday for a weekly update, including all the latest news and information about the Pittsburgh Steelers. All from the man who makes the calls. The Bill Cowher Press Conference, Tuesdays at noon on FSN Pittsburgh.
The Best Damn Sports Show period, tonight on FSN.
I bought my first car from them 40 years ago.
14 years ago.
4 minutes ago.
I bought a Cadillac.
A Pontiac.
A Hyundai.
A Nissan. A sandwich.
A GMC SUV.
They treated me like a VIP.
Like I was Ben Roethlisberger. They treated me that way, too. In 40 years, there's only one place I've ever gone.
Only one place I'll ever go.
From Robinson to South Hills to Monroeville, no one treats you better than number 1 Cochran. Glory, delivered weekly on the Highmark High School Sports Practice. Sunday mornings at 9 on FSN.
High school football has a new night. Every Thursday, we hit the Bird looking for the best in high school football matchups. This week, Leechburg takes on Springdale. It's the McDonald's High School Football Thursday, live tonight at 7 on FSN Pittsburgh.
Coming up next, it's Thursday night high school football on FSN Pittsburgh. Leechburg at Springdale after the game. Pittsburgh Tribune Review high school show, and then Pittsburgh sports tonight. Tomorrow night, Pirate baseball. We pick up the first game of the doubleheader at 6:30. Sports will come in between the games of the doubleheader. Enjoy high school football.
I'm tired of eating all this junk at night.
You got a better idea.
Hey, guy, over here. All right, punch it. Satisfy those late-night cravings at Wendy's pickup window.
Welcome to Wendy's. Everybody hide.
We make everything fresh, from our hot and juicy hamburger to our spicy chicken sandwich, till 1 a.m. or later. It's good to be nocturnal. Do Wendy's. Do what tastes right.
Boating is good, clean fun. A dirty bottom, pure aggravation. Reducing RPMs, wasting fuel dollars.
The alternative? Costly cleaning or hours of toxic scrubbing.
Environmentally safe AquaClean boat cleaner is easy to use. Simply apply, let sit, wipe, and just rinse off.
Less than an hour.
Purchase the 1 pound or the most economical 3-pound container. Order now online at aquacleanteam.com or 1-888-701-BOAT.
I'm Bill Cowher. You're watching FSN Pittsburgh, where Steeler fans come first.
You cheer every play, every first down, every end zone celebration. You bust your console play after play and scream and shout like you've got a 260-pound linebacker on your tail. Then throw down a cold as ice Coke and get right back at it. Why? Because you can. Because you have to. Coca-Cola Football Town, USA.
Cat ATVs come with 12 inches of ground clearance and our exclusive speed rack system. And since they're so indestructible, they also come with a 3-year warranty. Even the accessories. Cat, more to go on.
Sorts of riding. You're really good. Riding with Geico. Geico. One call could save you money on your motorcycle insurance, too. Guess what?
employee pricing for everyone is extended. You still pay what we pay, not just on GM models, but on all Barrel brands, and even on 2006 models. Now that's an extension. But we can only extend this extension for a limited time. So extend yourself over to our showrooms right now for Barrel's employee pricing for everyone. Only at Barrel Automotive. Definitely worth the trip.
Welcome to McDonald's High School Football Thursday, presented by the Pittsburgh Tribune-Review and Coca-Cola. This is Veterans Memorial Stadium. Earlier today, the stadium opened in 1939, was rededicated today after $1.5 million in renovations. The Leechburg Blue Devils in the white and the Springdale Dynamos in the orange and black getting ready for tonight's Eastern Conference matchup. The Blue Devils 0-3, the Dynamos are 3-0. Good evening, everybody. I'm Rob King, along with Kevin Gorman of the Tribune-Review. And Kevin, on the surface of it, this would seem like certainly a matchup you would expect Springdale to win, but Leechburg trying to plant some seeds for the future here tonight.
Certainly, and Leechburg actually leads the all-time series here 31-26, and they can look at Springdale's inspiration because not too long ago, Springdale was a program that was down in the basement. Now Leechburg is trying to rise up and follow Springdale's lead.
And they're hoping to do that. Coach Mark Jones is behind quarterback T.J. Phillips. He's a sophomore, big, rangy guy, still a little raw, Kevin, but a guy that they hope can lead this program back sometime in the near future.
And the key is that they're doing a lot of short outs and hitches and different things that make it easy for T.J. Phillips to make that adjustment. And he came up with a big game last week, 121 yards passing. They go to the scoreboard for the first time this season. He's going to be a very big key against a good Springdale defense tonight.
And he can run the option a little bit, too. That is something we might see tonight. He ran it last year when he was starting on the freshman team. They haven't run a whole lot of the option this year, but we may see some of that tonight. Now, as far as Springdale goes, the Dynamos won the WPIL title 2 years ago. They went to the semifinals last year. Starting on that team that won the WPIL championship as a sophomore was running back Wayne Mundakis.
And Wayne Mundakis is a guy who's the University of Community Schools all-time career leading rusher. He's a very exciting back to watch there because he's just so tough, and you see them right there bouncing off of tackles. He's the kind of guy who's going to get you big yardage, big plays. He did it as a sophomore on a championship team. Now he's a leader as a senior. And you have to talk about the 1-2 punch with he and Mike Landers, another senior, that gives Springdale a really big advantage in the backfield when they team up with Bo Citrone, who rushed for 12 touchdowns himself last year.
And they like sophomore Nate Zarisco, who appears to be the star of the future. Maybe the guy's going to replace Wayne Mundakis when he graduates. And Zarisco is just a sophomore, so Springdale reloading, and Citrone, you mentioned him, is just a junior, and they have a huge size advantage up front. So the unbeaten Springdale Dynamos, 3-0, and perhaps the team to beat in Class A in the WPIL is going to be taking on the Leechburg Blue Devils, looking to build a program for the future, maybe spring an upset as well here tonight. Kevin, the two rivals squaring off, and we return right after this. Here's another material handling solution from Equipco, Confined Area Forklift. Hi, I'm Carl Swanson of Equipco. In today's economy, we have to reduce costs, increase productivity, and handle material more efficiently. Confined Area Forklifts from Equipco expand usable warehouse space, or reduce the amount of warehouse space you need. That saves your company money. And that's what Equipco Material Handling Solutions is all about. Call Equipco at 412-221-2800.
I bought my first car from them 40 years ago. 14 years ago.
4 minutes ago.
I bought a Cadillac.
A Pontiac.
A Hyundai.
A Nissan.
A Sandwich. A GMC SUV.
They treated me like a VIP.
Like I was Ben Roethlisberger. They treated me that way, too. In 40 years, there's only one place I've ever gone.
Only one place I'll ever go.
From Robinson to South Mills to Monroeville, no one treats you better than number 1 Cochran.
Beer Harley Davidson.
When people call us who have never been injured in a car accident before, they're concerned about everything. They ask us, what should I sign? How will I collect my lost wages and pay my medical bills? Who pays to get my car fixed or find me a rental car? If you've been hurt in an accident and need answers to questions like these, call my law firm now. Let us take care of the hassles and paperwork. That's our job. You focus on getting better.
For a free consultation, call Edgar Snyder & Associates, 1-800-94-EDGAR.
And remember, there's never a fee unless we get money for you.
High school football Thursday on FSN Pittsburgh is brought to you by McDonald's. I'm loving it. By the Pittsburgh Tribune-Review. Now you know. Call 1-800-909-TRIP to subscribe. By number 1 Cochran, bigger than ever, better than ever. By Varsity Gold, America's fundraiser of choice, number 1 fundraising for high school football since 1988. And by Coca-Cola, make it real. Welcome back, and it's time for our number 1 Cochran keys to the game, Kevin Gorman.
Well, one of the things that's key here is you're going to see Leechburg is getting its first kickoff to start the game for the season. It's important for them to score early. They went nearly 143 minutes before they scored their first points last week, and also turnovers are critical. This is a team that had 5 turnovers in one game, 2 key turnovers that led to touchdowns in another, so that's something that's huge for Leechburg to get on the scoreboard early. And for Springdale, if they can build a lead and really demoralize Leechburg, that'd be a key, and also to limit the passing game after T.J. Phillips passed for 121 yards last week.
Trenny Kuznarek also joining us tonight. Trenny?
Thanks very much, guys. Well, Rob, as you alluded to earlier, a really big night here at Springdale High School. They formally unveiled really a whole new football complex. They have a new field house, refreshment center, lights, and I think head coach Separator really likes the new field. It's complete grass, and he called it Penn State grass. Well, also tonight, they were honoring the U.S. Army, Navy, and Marines, and it's a really big deal for this town because almost 2 hours before game time, guys, there was a line out the door to get in, and really it's just a regular season high school football game, guys.
Trenny, thanks very much. We are set for the opening kickoff. Springdale in the white will receive, and back to get it is Jesse Smith, and going on the reverse, it is fumbled right out of the chute, and Springdale has recovered. And Kevin, this has been a bugaboo for Leechburg all season long. Quick turnover already for a team that had fumbled 11 times going into this game.
When you see another look here, Jesse Smith had the kickoff. All you had to do is hand off. Looks like they're going for a little trickery, but you forgot the ball. That's what's so crucial. You know, Springdale's very opportunistic team. They can't afford to make this kind of a mistake. But what they really have to do is hold tight here and not allow Springdale to get on the board early.
Bo Citrone breaks the huddle. And you see the numbers there for the junior quarterback on the season. Motion to the left. Pitches to Landers, the motion man. Around the left side. Down inside the 5. And it's a touchdown on the first offensive play of the game for Mike Landers. The senior goes in from 10 yards out. And Springdale has jumped out to a 6-0 lead with just 11 seconds gone in this contest.
Well, you're going to see Landers just take the toss and go left. And I only really had one man to beat there at the goal line, Sheldon Lochner, and he got past him at the goal line. So Mike Landers gets on the scoreboard. It's been a big thing for Springdale to be able to score so quickly and to really demoralize this Leechburg team. It's been tough for them to score points, and 11 seconds in, they're already behind on the board.
And here's set for the extra point. The hold is down, and the kick is good by Andrew Bosman, the senior, and just like that, 11 seconds in already, Springdale takes the 7-0 lead. And Leechburg's defense, they lost the coin toss in all 3 of their first games, Kevin. The opposing team had gone down and scored all 3 times. Now they finally win a coin toss. They're trying to maybe get a little momentum going, and bang. Turnover on the opening kickoff, and one play later they're already down again.
Yeah, the trickery with the handoff there might have been a little too cute. You know, for a team that hadn't returned an opening kickoff, it would have been just important for them to get the ball and try to establish their offensive line, try to move the ball, make a few plays, and take some time off the clock. I think, you know, last week we saw just how important it was for Brentwood to get that 7-0 lead on Seton LaSalle and to go into halftime with the momentum on its side. And this time now Leechburg, you know, is up against it, and they're really going to have some trouble with the Springdale team that is a top-ranked team in Class A and is really, you know, an offensive dynamo living up to their nickname.
You see Mark Jones pacing the sideline and just trying to get something positive going for this program that was 0-9 a year ago. They started off 0-3 this season. He's in his 3rd year here. Former North Hills standout, twice went to the WPIL championships as a player, and and a guy that just is not used to losing and doesn't like it.
You know, and Mark Jones told me the main problem, when you lose so much, the minute these kids that get down, it's really hard to get them back. It's thinking right. You know, they haven't come through against any of these teams, so we'll see what they're made of right now, whether they can make a comeback here.
Jesse Smith fields it as it gets up over the 20, is chopped down, almost immediately gets out to the 22, perhaps the 23-yard line before Aaron Fagor makes the stop. And so the Leechburg offense will get on the field for the first time. They thought they were going to do that a short time ago, but the turnover on the opening kickoff led to the touchdown by the Springdale Dynamos. There's quarterback T.J. Phillips, just a sophomore. See the numbers, 7 of 14, 139 yards. Trying to bring him along slowly with a short passing game. Might see him go a little more up top tonight. They start out in the power I. Mike DiCiccio is the up back, and he has the ball faked to him, and a short pass out in the flat is complete, and it's going to pick up positive yardage to Devin McFall, the sophomore, who makes the grab. Time now for a look at our varsity gold starting lineups, and we begin with the offense for Leechburg. T.J. Phillips, the backfield of Ryan Wilson, Mike DiCiccio, and Devin McFall, who you saw make that reception. Pat Mitch, a very good tight end, along with Ben Eschenbaugh, Ulava, Beatty, Craig, Hoke, and Eshelman along the offensive line for Leechburg, and they brought their faithful along on the opposite sideline. They're cheering and hoping the Blue Devils can pull off something here tonight. 2nd and 4. Go to the air again, and the pass intended for Mitch is through his hands and incomplete. It'll bring up a 3rd and 4. Now our varsity gold starting lineup. The defense for Springdale: Dave Moorhead, Larry Seiler, Adam Burkhart, Devin Cox, and Brad Zarisco. Some 65 pounds heavier on average in the offensive line of Leechburg. McCauley and Seagriff are the linebackers. Mundakis, Zarisco, Landers, and Camerata are in the secondary for the Springdale Dynamos. 3rd and 4. Phillips brings the team to the line of scrimmage. Wide receivers split either way. Mitch and Sheldon Lockman. Rolling to his left, and now the pass is in and out of the hands of a diving McFall. Looked like it would have been short of a first down anyway, and Leechburg will be forced to punt.
Well, that's where you talk about the opportunistic defense of Springdale. They give up a big play on the first down, but then they make amends for that next couple plays. I really think Leechburg, you know, what they have to do is get one big play to get things rolling and maybe start believing in themselves. They're going to have to punt here, and you see DiCiccio back, a 285 punter. I haven't seen that, Rob, since Troy Boehner played at Penn Hills when he was in high school. He was a 285-pound punter. Boy, could he boot it. So I'm sure DiCiccio's got a strong leg as well.
DiCiccio is the starting fullback, starts at defensive end, and also does the punting and the place kicking for Leechburg. And a timeout on the field being called by Leechburg on this 3rd and 4 from their own 28-yard line. 11:32 remaining in the first quarter as a couple incomplete passes, one going out of bounds. Very little time has been run off the clock here in this first quarter.
And you wondered why a guy 285 pounds is playing fullback in Class A football. In most schools, he would be a guard or a tackle without question. But this is a guy, DiCiccio, who was a running back all the way up, coming up through the youth football and junior high into varsity. And he's a guy that has some sympathy from Coach Mark Jones. You're looking at him. He was 5'11", 200 pounds, and Jack McCurry always told him, you're one step away from moving to guard, and he did that his senior year. He went from fullback to guard. So he sympathizes in some sense in saying, hey, a big guy can play in the backfield and maybe get a little bit of a running start.
DiCiccio gets the snap and boots it away, and it's a good one. Back driven inside his 35-yard line as Wayne Mundakis loses the ball and is able to pounce on top of it at the 38-yard line. Maybe a yard or two on that return after the fumble by Mundakis. Here's a look at the Eastern Conference standings now. And Springdale appears to be the team to beat, but, you know, Riverview looked very good against Leechburg. Duquesne's always tough. This is a good football conference.
It is, and Sarah Catholic, a big turnaround under Rich Bowen, the first-year coach there, who was there, you know, years ago. They're having off to their best start since 1993 when Bowen made his first go-around with the Eagles. So they've thrown something interesting in the mix, and you see Clareton 0-3. They play Sarah 3-0. We'll find out who's the better team out of those two tomorrow night.
Throwing the give to Zarisco. Zarisco up over midfield and isn't brought down until he picks up 16 yards on the game. So Nate Zarisco, and that is a play that Coach Mark Jones said he had to stop. That sweep, they bring the guy in motion and hand it off to him.
And just when you're expecting, you know, to see some motion, different things, they go to Zarisco instead of Mundakis. So nice little play there. I think you're throwing Leechburg off balance when they're expecting the ball to go to Mundikis. This is what makes this offense so difficult to stop.
1st and 10 at the 48-yard line of the Leechburg Blue Devils. Patron has the tee back there, and now gives off the left side. Mundikis, or Zarisco again, I beg your pardon, pounds his way forward for 7 more. Here's your varsity gold starting lineup. The offense for the Springdale Dynamos scored so quickly, already up 7-0. We haven't had a chance to introduce you to Bo Citron, Wayne Mundikis, Mike Landers, and Nate Zarisco. An outstanding backfield, John McCauley and Mario Camerata. The tight end and wide receiver, Devin Cox, Mitch Moser, Brad Zarisco, the cousin of Nate, Tim Sainer and Seiler is the left tackle. A very big and experienced offensive line. Coming in motion, and the fake, and then give up the middle to Mundikis. As it looked like they were trying to snuff out that sweep as Landers was coming along and was chopped down, but Mundikis had the ball and picked up positive yardage enough for a 1st down. Here's a look at the varsity gold starting defensive lineup for the Leechburg Blue Devils. Mike DeSisto, we talked about him. Bryce Hoke, Justin Beatty, Kevin Eshelman, and Ben Eschenbaugh. Eshelman, the other big guy, 6'2", 285 pounds. Calvin Craig, Devin McFall, and Pat Mitch, a very good player, are the linebackers. Steve Midas, Jesse Smith, and Sheldon Lochner, the defensive backfield for the Leechburg Blue Devils. Patron on the fake. Now back to pass. Has a man open. Throws it deep. And wide open and going to walk in for the score is John McCauley, the tight end. And it is 13-0 Dynamos after a 36-yard pass from Bo Citron to a wide-open John McCauley.
And John McCauley, I mean, he couldn't have been more open. He was so, just so wide out there in the flat. It's interesting. You see his dad, John's dad, you're going to see the play develop here. Nice play action. And then they go to the opposite side with McCauley, who's just way behind the defense, had, all kinds of room. But his dad is the manager for Paul Spadafora, the former lightweight champion, and looks like John McCauley might have delivered a little knockout blow of himself to put Springdale up. Now up here is 14-0.
Yeah, after Bosman's extra point, it is 14-0 Springdale. Just 2 minutes and 4 seconds into tonight's game. We'll be back with more on McDonald's High School Football Thursday on FSN Pittsburgh right after this.
Football is more than a game in our town. It's a way of life. From the Pee-wees to the pros, we eat, sleep, and think football 24/7. And speaking of eating, after the game, treat your team to the great taste of McDonald's Quarter Pounder with Cheese Extra Value Meal, or the Double Quarter Pounder with Cheese Extra Value Meal. From our team to yours, all the best this season. The FSN Pro Football Preview, your first-hand look at the weekend's biggest matchups and potential upsets. Join Chris Myers, Jay Glazer, and Gridiron Greats Tim Brown and Jason Sehorn as they take you into the trenches with interviews and in-depth analysis. It's the weekly preview show that can't be missed. The FSN Pro Football Preview, Friday.
Well, an early blitz streak from the Springdale Dynamos, leading 14-0 already, following a 6-play, 74-yard drive. That followed a 1-play drive in which they scored after Leechburg had fumbled the opening kickoff. They lead 14-0, just 2 minutes and 4 seconds into this drive. Here is the kickoff, and it is going to be fielded down there by Jesse Smith. Smith going to his right, and he is brought down, gang tackled once again after he crosses the 20, and brought down, and that is where Leechburg's offense will take over 1st and 10.
Well, Rob, one of the things you see there is just so much confidence on Springdale's side of the ball. And Leechburg, you can tell that, when they get down, they start worrying about whether things are going to go bad. And that's the key to turning a losing program into a winning program, is getting the kids to believe that no matter what, they can win the game. And I think, Leechburg has to look at this, okay, we're down by 2 touchdowns, but we still have a chance. That's what they have to that's the way they have to think right now. And if they don't have a chance.
Mitch and Lochner split both ways, power I. Phillips under center, gives off the left side, and being wrapped up and thrown down for a loss of a couple on the play is Ryan Wilson. And so it's going to bring up a second and about 12 yards. And that is a problem. The Leechburg offense is not particularly fast. They don't like to go outside too often, and yet they are so overmatched size-wise by Springdale, and I'm not sure Mark Jones feels like he has much other choice but other than to try to run it outside a little bit on this team.
Well, I think you haven't seen DeCiccio touch the ball yet, and I think that's one of the things they're going to have to do to keep Springdale's defense honest, is maybe use him, whether it's using him as a battering ram, as a blocker, or to give him the ball and let him try to get a few short yards.
Phillips, play action pass, back and throws, and it is complete. And it's going to be a first down. Nice pass play out there.
Steve Midas.
Steve Midas, the sophomore, makes the catch. So we've seen a couple sophomores, McFall and Midas, on receptions, and it is a first down for Leechburg.
You see the play action there. Like we said, they used DeCiccio as a decoy on that play. And Midas is open, and he makes a nice big jumping catch. Little guy, he's only 5'5", 140 pounds. So for him to get open and then to be able to catch the ball in traffic was an impressive play on his part.
And the average yards on first down, Springdale 17. And Leechburg 2.5. They're going to try to improve on that. Now a quick option to pitch out, a little behind the man, and looks like we're going to have a penalty flag on the play. Looks like maybe on the block out there on the right side as Ryan Wilson got back about to the line of scrimmage. That pitch was a little bit behind him. Looked like they had something working on the perimeter, but I think we're going to have a holding penalty here anyway.
Close. You're seeing a young quarterback, and he had some trouble there. He actually did a two-handed pitch, and they get the ball out there, but I can't tell if that was a clip or if there's a holding involved there. But
so we'll see what the call is, and it's
on the offense, 10-yard penalty to keep first down.
It is a holding penalty, and they're going to march him backwards. In the true triple option, which is what Mark Jones runs, you fake to the up back, the fullback, and you're hoping to get downhill to run at that defensive end, but he got across the line so quickly, David Moorhead did, that it really blew that play up and threw off the timing of it.
And that's one of the things you're going to watch tonight is you see Moorhead, who's actually the stud end, like they like to call him on the defense. You have Moorhead and Koch are going to be getting a lot of pressure on this offensive line of Leechburg. They have one guy, Kevin Eshelman, 6'2", 285-pound senior, was an all-conference player, but the rest of these guys are young guys who don't have a lot of experience.
So first and 21, the option comes back the other way. The pitch is over the head and then picked up and dragged down after a loss on the play is Ryan Wilson as they once again try to get wide on the option. That time they faked the pitch one way or faked the handoff one way and ran back the other way, but still Springdale not fooled.
No, and you're going to see, once again, T.J. Phillips have a little bit of trouble with the play fake and, getting the option pitch. He's not getting that option pitch with a lot of confidence. It looks like he's trying to get rid of that ball before he gets tackled, and that's leading to some bad pitches. But, that's one of the things that comes with being a sophomore quarterback. This is a kid who has good size. It's 6'3", 190 pounds. He's only a sophomore. He's only a couple of games into his varsity career. He's shown some potential here in the last couple of games, but he's still working out the kinks.
Second and a whole bunch for Leechburg back at their own 22-yard line. Phillips back to pass, quick pass, and it is complete. And banging forward and picking up very good yards is Ben Eschenbaugh, the senior tight end. That's a nice positive play as they've found some success now here in the passing game.
They really have, and when you look at a 5-2 defense, you expect the middle of the field to be open, and I think teams are a little concerned about trying to throw against Mike Landers, who has 20 career interceptions, a school record, but they've been able to get that little pop pass to the tight end, doing some short stuff and moving the chains every once in a while.
And that's going to bring up a 3rd and 11. We saw another shot of this beautifully renovated Veterans Memorial Stadium. They played one game here earlier this year against Monaca and rededicated the stadium officially tonight, knowing that FSN Pittsburgh would be here at McDonald High School football Thursday. Phillips back to pass, looking, goes out on the flat, and McFall trying to get away, but is dragged down by David Moorhead. A loss on the play as they try to set up the screen to the right side. And this Springdale team is so impressive. They are absolute juggernaut on offense and improving on defense, according to Chuck Wagner.
And what I really like about them is the pursuit. Not only the pressure that Devin Cox got on there, but then you see the linebacker, McFall, coming out on the outside and really containing the pass and keeping everything contained to the inside. So this is a team that I think the speed of Springdale is one of the things that really stands out for you because they just make such great pursuit and form to the football.
Big, fast, strong, well-coached, disciplined, patient. Springdale is all of that. DeCiccio Back to kick, and it will be Mundakis ranging over again. It's going to bounce. He's going to take it at his own 37. Looking for some room. Heads up the sideline. We have a penalty flag down, and he is licked hard. Mundakis taking a big hit, but pops up immediately on the play on a 22-yard return, but I think some of this is going to come back because we did see a penalty flag down. As Mundakis took a big lick at the end of that play, but before that happened, we had a penalty, so we'll wait and see what the call is. And it's a legal block in the back.
Penalty goes against Springdale.
So that will negate a fine return by Mundakis. Looks like they're going to march it off here. I believe they're going to start at the 47. And they're marching it off now. And they'll go back to about where Mundakis fielded it. He fielded it at the 37. And it's going to be at the 38 that they're going to take over here. The Springdale Dynamos offense with 6:20 remaining here in the first quarter. And the team out to a 14-0 lead. Bosatrone brings his team out, has a receiver split to the right. Wide, that's Camerata. Patrone hands to Landers off the left side. Has some room, cuts back into the middle of the field and lost the football. Looked like a fumble, and it is a fumble, and it is recovered by Leechburg. So Leechburg comes up with a big defensive turnover, and it is Jesse Smith, the cornerback, who comes up with it.
So you see Jesse Smith, he atones for his first fumble with a big play there. And one of the things that he's doing, he's coming out of the safety position, and in certain plays, when they go to receiver sets, Jesse's lining up at the nose tackle, but there's a stand-up nose tackle, so he just happened to be in the right place at the right time.
And it looked like DeCiccio was the one who made that big hit. So Leechburg starting off with great offensive field position at the Springdale 47-yard line. They come out in the power I with two receivers split either way for quarterback T.J. Phillips. 6:12 remains here in the first quarter with Springdale enjoying a 14-0 lead. Phillips barking out the signals and gives to the fullback on the option play, and he's going to pick up about 4 or 5 yards. Some big-time celebrities here tonight at Springdale. Trenny Kuznerich standing by with Hugh Green. Trenny.
Thanks very much, Rob. Well, Hugh came down from Mississippi, or came up from Mississippi to talk to the Springdale players before the game. What did you talk to them? What did you say to the guys?
Well, we sort of had them covered because myself and Mike Rozier came up. We had two different conversations. I talked about team, about playing together, about adversity, if you have mistakes or something happens in a game, just staying together as a team. And Mike came more so of, plans after football or plans after, in your continuation of life.
All right, let's talk to the booth for the play. And we'll come right back down here.
Tony, thanks very much. Quick 2-yard gain for DeCiccio, going to bring up a third and about 5. Go ahead, Tony.
Hugh, Pitt, tough start for them. They're 0-2 right now. Is this just kind of a situation with young kids of growing pains?
Well, somewhat, I just think that, the combination and the level of competition is a little bit different up there, If it was up to me, in the top 20, 10 of the 11 teams would be on my schedule. Then, after my recruiting class, then, they go into their sophomore year on down, then they grow up to be big boys because the competition level is always high.
Tough competition this weekend against Nebraska. You look at a guy like Coach Wanstaff, and he bring the Pitt program back to where it was when you played back in the 80s?
Well, that's the label of everything. Everybody hopes so. I think that what he's going to have to do, along with him when he went from the Pittsburgh to the Pitt, is go back to the old school version of having the players and having the great ex-players that we have. He has the tools with myself and Danny and Tony and a lot of guys to come in and try to help him. And, the university's going to have to make that step and try to get us to go down and help him and make that step so we can recruit some guys for him or at least, put them in the vicinity of the players.
All right, thank you very much for joining us, guys. Back up to the booth.
Tony, thanks. 4th and 1. And the option, the quick pitch. Wilson turns it upfield, has some room, cuts back to the middle of the field, gets down to the 25-yard line. And on a 4th and 1, Leechburg goes for it. The option works to perfection this time, picking up 8 yards as Ryan Wilson gets the first down for the Blue Devils. And that was a good-looking, well-constructed play here.
And Ryan Wilson went the opposite way last time. This time he goes to the left, makes a nice cutback. And you're going to see him cut against the grain. And he did a really good job of falling forward and getting that first down. He's done a very nice job in the open field. This is a young guy who's had a couple big plays back-to-back for the Blue Devils.
So, some positive momentum for the Blue Devils. 1st and 10 at the 25-yard line as we get down to 3:45 remaining in the first quarter. Phillips has two receivers split again each way. They've frequently gone with the two tight ends set. A little wrinkle tonight. DeCiccio goes in motion, just two backs left. And it's the option to give to the up back is wrapped up and not much room there for Devin McFall. The sophomore may have gotten back to the line of scrimmage. Well, they're clearly trying to do some things. You're seeing some motion. You're seeing some different sets than we've seen offensively, Kevin, right now out of Leechburg.
Yeah, you know, when you have a guy like 285-pound fullback like DeCiccio, and you use him as a decoy, you're hoping to, draw this defense away from where he's going. So they've been able to move the ball, and that's the impressive thing that I'm really noticing is that Leechburg's been able to sustain a drive here, and that's what's important. What would be really key for them is to put some points on the board.
No question about it. Phillips. Now we'll go back. Short drop, quick throw, and just behind his man, in and out of the hands of his intended receiver. I believe it was Matus out there, but we'll get a look at the number, and it falls incomplete, and it's going to bring up, it was Stephen Matus that is going to bring up a 3rd and 10.
Well, he got behind the defensive back there, and, if Phillips leads his receiver with that ball, that is 6 points right there. And that's a young quarterback's going to make that mistake. But, I think that's one of the things these quarterbacks that are watching the game should maybe take notices of. Put the ball out in front of your receiver, not behind him. A lot of these are throwing timing patterns.
Right, well, that looked like a timing pattern exactly where he just thought he was going to throw it to a spot, and his receiver maybe had broken a little sooner than he expected. Phillips now rolls to his left, under pressure, and he throws it, and it's intercepted. Coming back the other way for the Springdale Dynamos is John McCauley, the fullback and tight end and linebacker, who returns it all the way out to the 45-yard line, a 24-yard return on that interception. So once again, the turnover bugaboo biting the Leechburg Blue Devils. Chuck Wagner's team will take back over when we return. Springfield Dynamos leading 14-0. You're watching high school football, McDonald's High School football on FSN Pittsburgh.
Introducing Trib Total Media. We're more than daily and weekly newspapers. We're also radio, websites, magazines, penny savers, and television. So whatever you want, you can get it from us. Trib Total Media. We deliver newspapers and more.
You cheer every play, every first down, every end zone celebration. You bust your console play after play. You scream and shout like you've got a 260-pound linebacker on your tail. Then throw down a cold as ice Coke and get right back at it. Why? Because you can. Because you have to. Coca-Cola Football Town, USA.
Welcome back to Veterans Memorial Stadium, rededicated here in Springdale. Prior to tonight's game, newly renovated, a beautiful facility, a tremendous field. $1.5 million they spent, $35,000 on just the field alone, and it is a beauty. I walked around in that earlier tonight, Kevin, and I mean, there's not a splotch on the field. Beautiful, thick grass. It is like a carpet out there, all grass.
I joked that this is actually, the grass looks nicer than some turf fields, and someone said that this is a great Class A stadium. I said this is a great stadium, period.
No
it doesn't matter what classification you are. The seating is for Class A football, but other than that, you have a first-class stadium.
He's throwing back to pass, short pass to Mendekis out in the flat, picks up a block down the field, and that block is going to be in the back, so that long run is going to be negated. It had been an 18-yard gain, but instead it will be called back on a block in the back. And I think it was Mike Landers that they caught. You'll see him behind the play here a little bit. There he is in the left of your screen, now in the middle of your screen. He gets a close call, but they're going to call Landers for a block in the back.
That's tough because you want to teach your receivers to come back to the play and block. But, the officials are going to call something like that when a player who is on defense braces for the block and turns to his side. You really shouldn't be penalizing guys for those kind of plays, especially when the guy's going all out and doing what he's supposed to do. But at the same time, you can't leave any room for the officials' discretion.
Illegal block in the back on the offense. First 10-yard penalty, repeat first down.
So Springdale will have a 1st and 15. Now, last time they had the ball, Mike DeCiccio caused the fumble, and Leechburg was able to recover and put together an impressive drive, getting it down to the 25-yard line of Springdale before T.J. Phillips was intercepted by John McCauley. And so now, 1st and 15 for the Dynamos, and Leechburg Blue Devils trying to hang in there with 2:33 remaining in the first quarter. Citrone back under center. Quick drop, throws, and incomplete over the head of his intended receiver, Landers, and the crowd here screaming that they thought that Matus got there a little early.
Well, he did get there a little early, but it wasn't a catchable pass. And I think that's what you have to look at this. The official was right there on the play. Springdale wants every break. But as you're going to see here, that, no matter whether the defender was there or the ball was there, he wasn't going to catch that pass, and so the official let that one go.
Landers is a good-looking player. Mendakis gets a lot of the headlines, justifiably so, as the school's all-time leading rusher. But Landers can split out. He's got great speed. He's a good runner. He comes up and will hit you on defense. He is a good football player. Thrown now, lone back in the backfield is Mendakis. Now coming in motion is Landers, and the pitch is behind him. And Citrone races for it, falls on it. Does he have it? No, Leechburg has it. They've created yet another turnover. So the Leechburg Blue Devils defense comes up with another turnover. It is Jesse Smith who comes up with it, and Leechburg takes over again in good field position down to the 22-yard line of the Springdale Dynamos.
That's the second time you've seen Jesse Smith, come right through the middle there, cause problems. And what they're doing is when Springdale goes to the double slot formation, Smith comes up from the safety position into the standing nose tackle, and he's been able to bull rush there a few times. And both times they've done it, it's backfired, and Jesse Smith has come up with a pair of fumbles tonight. Big plays for that guy.
Well, and then one time Smith did blitz, they left him wide open for the pass play, too. So a high-risk, high-reward defensive scheme by Mark Jones and company. Now the option, the pitch is wide, picked up on the bounce by Wilson. He has nowhere to go. It's punched out of his hands. And the fumble's going to go all the way back to the 32-yard line, and it's going to be a loss of 10 on the play for the Leechburg offense.
Well, you're seeing Leechburg is having a lot of trouble running this option, and it starts really with the quarterback, T.J. Phillips. He seems like he's very uncomfortable making that pitch, and he's doing the pitch every time with two hands. I thought that was a one-time thing when he was under pressure, but he seems to be having some difficulty, and that's when you're throwing the ball twice with two hands, you're throwing it across your body rather than from the right-hand side. That's something that he needs to work on. I think something that Leechburg has to consider whether this is a play worth running as frequently as they are, because when they're throwing the ball, they're seeming to get positive yardage out of it.
2nd and 20. Phillips under center, has a man in motion. Now back to pass, 3-step drop. Going to throw it up the right side for Mitch. It's too far. He's banged out of bounds by Landers. And Mitch just couldn't get it. It was too high and thrown out of bounds by Phillips. It'll bring up a 3rd and 20. In defensive Phillips, there are other things that happen on the option, too. There's defensive ends are getting across the line of scrimmage quickly and forcing him to pitch it faster than he wants it. You have to have the proper spacing, too, on the option. So, it's tough to say, but clearly one way or the other, it really has not looked all that good, other than that first down run on the 4th and 1 for Leechburg tonight.
It's not the place to blame all on T.J. Phillips, but it's just a play that isn't working right now, and it's a play that Springdale seems to be seeking out. So, I look for Leechburg to go back over the middle with another pump pass or tight end if they can.
Phillips split either way, setting up the screen down at the bottom of the screen here, and it is dropped in and out of the hands of Devin McFall. And Phillips that time didn't really look like he set his feet and got the good throw off to McFall, and it looked like there was some room maybe set up there for that thing to work.
Yeah, because you see there was a nice play action. McFall's open on the other side. And,
it just hit him right in the chest.
Yeah, it hit him in the chest, but, it's one of those plays where it's a matter of execution, discipline, making a lot of the little things happen for Leechburg. And you have to start from scratch sometimes and work your way up, and that seems to be the problems. Isn't so much the big things as it is the little things. Holding on to the pass, not dropping the handoff on the opening kickoff. Those are the things that are coming back to hurt Leechburg more than anything.
And I agree, and I think Mark Jones would agree with you, too, that when the little things begin to unravel, the bigger picture becomes unraveled. When you have the bad penalties, when you have the turnovers, the doubts start to creep in. You've been down this road before. This is a team that needs some positive things to happen. One of the positive things that they're playing a lot of young players that are getting valuable experience right now against top teams like Springdale and Riverview. By the time they get to their junior and senior year, they'll have been through the battles of this Eastern Conference and hopefully be ready to lead Leechburg back after really a couple of tough years. 0-9 as we mentioned last year, now an 0-3 start this season.
And we mentioned, look how tough
Springdale look, how quick they play. You know, this is a team that's all about speed and power, and it wasn't that long ago. We're talking 1993 when Chuck Wagner came on. They had a 35-game losing streak. They were the dregs of the Whippeal. You know, this was the worst program around. Now they're one of the best.
And Mark Jones cited them as an example of what he wants to try to get done. Now back, it's going to be a halfback option pass going deep for Mitch on 4th and 20 and overthrown. Passing complete. Todd Rupert snuck into the backfield. He is the backup quarterback for Leechburg, but it was well covered downfield by Springdale. Stay tuned after the game for a complete preview of all the high school football matchups as Brent Stover hosts the Pittsburgh Tribune Review High School edition. And that is coming up immediately following Springdale and Leechburg, only here on FSN Pittsburgh. And so the Dynamos will take over on offense at their own 32-yard line. Thrown with a full house backfield as Mundakis, Landers, and the give here to Zarisco, and Zarisco is bottled up and driven backwards. Leading the charge defensively is Kevin Esselman, the big defensive tackle, 6'2", 285 pounds. And we've seen some good plays from this Leechburg defense, which has stiffened the last couple times.
When you see Eshelman, the all-conference player on the defensive line, he just meets them head-on, and, you know, sometimes they say you want to rip your head off. In this case, they ripped off his helmet, and you see Zarisco there kind of wondering what happened on that play, because every other play they seem to be able to move the ball a few yards each time.
And that's a good matchup. Devin Cox, his brother Lucas, is at Iowa, is 6'3", 275 pounds. That's some beef out there. Long throw, a beauty to Landers with a flag down on the play. Landers is deep inside the 10. He's going to find pay dirt. We're going to have to see what the flag is. A 67-yard touchdown pass for now from Citrone to Landers, right on the money. A beautiful throw from Citrone. Referees are still huddling back to the 35-yard line. Let's see what the call is going to be.
If I had to guess, it looked like somebody from Leechburg jumped the neutral zone, and this play's going to...
Now they're starting to wave things back. Wait a minute now. They're calling both teams back. And it's an illegal motion on Springdale. So that 67-yard beauty from Citrone to Landers is being called back. You look at the first 4 drives, touchdown, then they've shot themselves in the foot with a pair of fumbles.
You see, this is where I thought he jumped off sides, but they call the illegal motion because the receiver still moving when that play goes.
On the offense,
yeah, I'm not sure.
5-yard penalty, repeat second down.
I'm not sure McCauley, the tight end, may not have left a little early. Look at Landers, so elusive. Boy, is he a good football player. We had a chance to watch some tape on the Springdale team this week, and he is just an impressive football player.
He's a guy who has 5, 6 touchdowns receiving, a couple rushing. He can get in the end zone offense. He's a ball hawk on defense.
Right.
You know, he's a school record for interceptions coming into his senior year. He had 16 coming in, has a couple this season, so he's a guy who certainly left his mark on this program. You know, and he's a winner. That's the thing that they've really left the mark on the program, is that in 2002, they made the playoffs for the first time in 29 years. 2003, they win the first Whitfield championship in 30 years. And, you know, the last 2 years have been, you know, last year in the playoffs, this year, the #1 team in Class A, atop our rankings.
2nd and 15. Give on the second back through. Mundakis keeps his feet moving forward, going to pick up 4 or 5 yards to set up a 3rd and long. And you can see how confusing that is with his backs coming in motion, and it becomes so hard defensively, Kevin, to commit. You find yourself having to read too much. Defenses want to be able to attack and be aggressive, but it's awful difficult when you have all these guys moving around and you don't know who has the ball. And maybe not quite as much movement as we saw, say, with Washington a couple years ago under Guy Montecalvo, but still enough to be very confusing for opposing defenses.
Especially when they mix it up, when they go to double slot and do the, you know, the jet and the cowboy, when the guys, you know, with the ace back in there. So they're doing a lot of different things. It's not just a straight T. It's a straight T with some alternatives to go in with it.
So after a rough start for the Leechburg Blue Devils, they are hanging in there after 1 quarter of play. Springfield 14, Leechburg nothing.
Intensity, delivered weekly on the Highmark High School Sports Practice, Sunday mornings at 9 on FSN.
Pennsylvanians are killed each year trespassing at mines and quarries. I'm Kathleen McGinty. Matthews, Secretary of Environmental Protection. Riding old mine sites and diving in abandoned quarries may look like fun, but those joy rides are suicide missions, and that diving is about dying. Emergency responders risk their lives on dangerous search and rescue missions. Mines and quarries are not playgrounds. They can kill you. Stay out and stay alive.
Injured on the job? Collecting work comp for 4 months or longer? You may be entitled to a lump sum of money.
For a free consultation, call Edgar Snyder & Associates, 1-800-94-EDGAR.
Barlow and the Niners, McNabb and the Eagles. Fox NFL Sunday this weekend in HD.
Christian Holloway, PPG Credit Manager and Operation Troop Appreciation Founder. Steve McCowan, Research Chemist and volunteer at the PPG Aquarium. Gretchen Root, Senior Counsel and American Cancer Society Relay for Life Captain. Just a few of the thousands of people working for PPG and helping to unlock the potential of our community. PPG, unlocking potential.
All physical therapy is not the same. Daily work, play, even leisure activities can lead to problems. Be sure you choose the best alternative when physical therapy is recommended. Clinical excellence, customer service, professionalism, community commitment.
Ron Murdoch, Sean Collins, Josh Lenzel, Vicky English, Jay Lemke, Paula Dolkos.
Panther Physical Therapy. If you're not getting therapy from Panther, you're not getting the best physical therapy available.
Welcome back to McDonald's High School Football Thursday. We'll be picking out our Coca-Cola fan of the game. We'll be presenting that in the fourth quarter. Springdale leading Leechburg right now 14-0. 3rd and 9. The first third down for Springdale this game. It's either been touchdown or fumble for the Dynamos so far. Bo Citrone under center. Springdale in the black moving left to right. And it looks like they've drawn a man off sides, and they have. They're going to march it off 5 yards against Leechburg. The neutral zone infraction there. We take a look at the first quarter set. That was Jesse Smith who jumped offside. Rushing yards in favor of Springdale, 48-3. Passing yards, 36-23. Each side has 2 turnovers.
Defense, 5-yard penalty. Repeat 3rd down.
Well, they go from 3rd and 9 to 3rd and 4 now, so they kind of give Springdale a break, which is not what you can afford to do in this game. But we'll see what Leechburg's made of on this play, whether they can hold and force a punt.
See the penalties, 2 for 15 yards for Leechburg, 3 for 25 for Springdale, including 1 to call back what would have been a 67-yard touchdown pass. We give to the second back, Drew Mundakis. Has some room over the left side, surging forward, close to the first down marker. Looks like he's going to have it. Wayne Mundakis moving up over that big left side of the Springdale Dynamos offensive line. We talked about Devin Cox, 6'3", 275. Mitch Moser, 6'1", 220. Brad Zarisco, the center, goes 240 pounds. Tim Stainer, the right guard, goes 286. Larry Styler, the right tackle, goes 240. This is a big offensive line.
That's a big line in any classification, too. I mean, you put those guys up against any line in the Whitfield, and they probably, at least size-wise, pound for pound, they match up pretty well.
Spread set now 4 wide for Citrone. Back to pass. Looking lost over the middle. Has Landers wide open. Catches it in stride, and no one's going to catch it. Mike Landers into the end zone. 57-yard touchdown. They had the 67-yarder call back. No flags on this one. Landers finds pay dirt for the second time tonight, and Springdale leads 20-0.
Well, Landers is certainly the big play guy, and you've seen so far, early in the game, he's just made big play after big play. But Bo Citrone puts the ball right on the money in this play. It couldn't have been any prettier, and Landers catches it in stride and then outraces the defensive secondary.
And Pat Mitch, the fine linebacker for Leechburg, lost his footing on that play. And you'll see him perhaps, there's number 14 behind him. He lost his footing earlier in that play, and no one's going to catch Landers when he gets out in the open field. Good speed, and takes it in for 57 yards out. Bosman now to try the extra point, and we have a flag on the play. Citrone 2 for 3 for 93 yards and 2 touchdowns, and again had a 67-yard touchdown pass to Landers called back.
It's not a bad average, Rob.
No, and we see that out of Citrone, and you can see why it works, because Springdale's running attack, hang on a moment.
Coaching on the defense, half the distance to the goal.
And now they might think about going for 2. And in fact, they are. They bring back the offensive personnel as it moves down half the distance to the goal. And Springdale's running attack is so potent, and then they just come out quickly there in the spread, and it is tough for defenses to react. Citrone can really throw it, and he's got receivers that can run and catch. I mean, you can see why this approach is working so well.
It really helps when you have a versatile player like Landers who can line up in the backfield and split wide. He's just as effective at either side, whether he's playing running back or receiver. So he's a guy that gives them a lot of flexibility because of his ability.
Springdale calls timeout. And let's go down to Trenny Kuznera. Trenny.
Well, guys, you were talking about the size and speed of the offensive line. Well, Coach Wagner says they've really made a new commitment to strength at Springdale. They have upgraded equipment in the weight room. They have an agility room. They've also instituted a track program. He said in his first year, he had one kid who could bench 200 pounds. Today, 35 kids on the team can bench 200 pounds or more, and they have one who can actually do 400 plus. So completely different from the way it was when he started here back in 1993, guys.
Thanks, Trenny. And in fact, North Hills this summer, North Allegheny this summer, had a weightlifting competition. Springdale was the only Class A team to show up, the only Class A football team, Kevin, and they won that competition. Butler and Shaler finished second and third. This is a Class A school because the strongest kids in that competition in the WPIL. That's pretty impressive. It says a lot about their off-season training program.
It really does, and I think that's where it starts. I think you have to get the kids into the weight room, onto the track, get them running, get them lifting. That's where a lot of the confidence comes from, is the strength. And the teams that have the off-season programs and the kids who make the commitment to those programs are the ones who are ultimately successful by the time August and September rolls around, when they put on the pads and start playing. And you can really see when you get on the field and you look at these guys in their uniforms, you see the shoulder pads now and it doesn't show up quite as much. When you see them in the uniforms, you look like Springdale looks like it's boys and men playing against Leechburg.
Citrone now the man in motion, gives to that man in motion, and cutting inside it's Jarisco. He'll get the 2-point conversion, and Springdale will go up 22-0 with 11:33 remaining in the second period from Veterans Memorial Stadium in Springdale.
Introducing Trib Total Media. We're more than daily and weekly newspapers. We're also radio, website, magazines, penny savers, and television. So whatever you want, you can get it from us. Trib Total Media. We deliver newspapers and more.
The nation's top two teams take center stage on FSN. Heisman winner Matt Leinart leads #1 USC on their quest for a third straight national title when they battle Arkansas. And Vince Young has #2 Texas primed for a national title run as they square off with in-state rival Rice. College Football Saturday, presented by Kyocera on FSN.
Welcome back to Veterans Memorial Stadium in Springdale. The Dynamos leading Leechburg 22-0, 11:33 remaining here in the second quarter, and Mark Jones looking on, trying to stem the flow here, stem the tide that is surging against his Blue Devils right now. The ball fell off the tee, so they will boot it again. As Bosman, who's the backup quarterback, also will do the kicking duties. Andrew Bosman, good leg, also does the punting for Springdale, which is something he hasn't had to do too often this season. Now the kick on the way, and it is a good boot, and it is going to roll into the end zone. That is an automatic touchback in high school football. And so now Mark Jones needs to gather the troops. The Leechburg Blue Devils offense try to build on some of the positives they've established in this game. They've been able to move the ball a little bit through the air. We've seen the ball again on the ground too much for the Blue Devils tonight.
No, they just haven't. The option really hasn't worked. I think that the speed advantage that Springdale has is really kind of limited what Leechburg can do on the ground. And, they've been able to have a few quick hits there offensively in the passing game, but they haven't been able to make a big play yet. And I think that's what Leechburg has to maybe try to lull Springdale to sleep and hit them with a big play. They tried it with the halfback option pass. We'll see what other tricks they have up their sleeve.
Give to Wilson trying the left side, and he is corralled, wrapped up, brought down. Big loss in the play. Brad Jarisco got in there and made the tackle. Jarisco just getting excellent penetration to the 6', 240-pound senior, is the cousin, as we mentioned, of Nate Jarisco, the sophomore, who just scored in that 2-point conversion. Just nowhere to run.
No, Zariska did a great job of fighting off the block of Kevin Eshelman, and the back was kind of waiting for a hole to open rather than just attack the line of scrimmage. But Zariska did a great job of fighting off that block and then getting to the outside, containing it, and dragging down the back for a couple-yard loss.
And bring up a 2nd and 14 as Phillips calls the signals, and the sophomore leads the team out to the line of scrimmage, has the receiver split to the right. That is Pat Mitch, and one down at the bottom, that is Steve Matus. Phillips 4 of 10 for 23 yards. Back to pass with a quick slant to Mitch, and Mitch is hit hard as he gets up to the 22, perhaps the 23-yard line. Going to pick up 6 or 7 and bring up another 3rd and long situation for the Blue Devils.
One of the things you're going to see here is they have 2 backs in the backfield to protect the quarterback and give him a little bit of time. Mitch gets open, gets back past the original line of scrimmage, and they take a tough hit there. You can see what a tough kid Pat Mitch is. He's not only a tough kid, but he's also a scholar, and we'll talk about him later in the broadcast. But he's a guy who comes up with big plays for this team, and he was the leading receiver for them last year. And coming back, really the whole key to the offense this season might be Pat Mitch.
It's going to be a 3rd and 7 at their own 23-yard line. Under 10 minutes now left in the 2nd quarter. Phillips with a full house and has a man go in motion. That's McFall. Phillips, quick drop, and a lost one for Mitch. Mitch has it go behind him and out of bounds, and once again, Leechburg will be forced to punt, and that'll bring on DeCiccio, and actually he'll stay on. He's the fullback and also the punter for the Leechburg Blue Devils. And just a tough situation for this Blue Devils offense for Mark Jones, trying everything he can, trying a little option, trying to throw the ball more than they have in the past, going against a Dynamos team that is dynamite. They are just a very good football team with few weaknesses.
And I really think what's exceptional about Springdale is their ability to exploit another team's weaknesses, and that's what they've been able to do so far tonight.
DeCiccio aiming for the sideline and getting it as DeRisco. Didn't want it to go out of bounds. Now moves up the sideline, a flag down on the play as he weaves his way forward for a few yards. Let's go downstairs. We'll get the flag in just a moment. Trenny Kuzniak is standing by with former Heisman Trophy winner Trenny.
Yes, I'm down here with Mike Rozier, who played at Nebraska, Heisman Trophy winner. Had a chance to speak to the Springdale players today. Why did you decide to come up to talk with them, and what did you say to the kids?
Well, I came up last year with Skip Cade. He brought us up here. Me and Hugh Green talked about life in general. Hugh Green talked about football, and I talked about life. I mean, there's life after football. Most kids just concentrate on football. But football, you can't play football all your life. So I was talking about life. Things you got to deal with, people you got to be around, associated with Price, what I mean? So, just different things about life.
Big game this weekend coming up. The Steelers are going to take on Houston.
Oh, I know Pitt plays Houston. Nebraska.
Oh, Pitt plays Nebraska. Well, we can talk about Pitt, Nebraska, too, your alma mater. Pitt, Nebraska. Who do you think is going to win?
I think Nebraska should beat them. Now, you never know. Pitt supposed to win last week, and they lost against Iowa. I'm quite sure Nebraska will beat them.
Do you like what Bill Callahan is doing in Nebraska? Do you think this year under his tutelage it'll be a little bit different? They're a little more used to his West Coast offense and that kind of pro style of play?
Yeah, they got a quarterback that runs it pretty well now. Like last year was the first year runner, so they had little errors there, but I'm quite sure they iron everything out. And I think they're better this year. They win more games this year.
Talk to you about pro ball really quick. The Steelers have a pretty good running game. What do you think of their backs and their chance to do well this year?
Well, most of their backs are hurt. I watched the games on Sunday, but the one back they got the little fast guy. He's a good running back, very fast. I don't think he's going to last 16 games, though.
Thank you very much for your insight. Thanks for coming by, guys. Let's go back up to the booth.
Thanks very much, Trenny. Former Pittsburgh Mauler star as well. Zach Taylor, that quarterback running things in Nebraska. And it's going to be an interesting game, no question about it. Wide open. The throw and the roll. There's a man down the right sideline. It's McCauley, the tight end, shakes free from a would-be tackle and races 63 yards for the score. And Springdale goes up 28-0.
Well, it's just one big play after another for Springdale. They go to McCauley again. He already had one big touchdown play. Now, between he and Landers, you have 2 threats to worry about coming out of the passing offense. And you see McCauley, another play-action fake to Trone. Once again, just puts the ball on the money. And really, McCauley just had to kind of sit there and wait for it, and then he outruns Lochner. And that was a nice job by McCauley to open it up a little bit. Just one big play after another for the Dynamos.
That's really a beautiful throw on the run. Hits him right in stride for the touchdown. And now, to see if they go for 2 or go for 1 here out of the huddle. And Bosman's on, it's going to be going for 1. Ciccone is now 3 for 4, 156 yards. Has touchdown passes of 36, 57, and 63 yards. And had a 67-yarder called back on an illegal motion penalty.
And McCauley's a kid who missed last week with a shoulder injury and is playing with a shoulder harness. So this is a guy who almost wasn't out there.
Bosman's extra point is up and good, and with 9:25 remaining in the second quarter, Springdale leading Leechburg 29-0.
When you Mike Frazier, you talk about him playing with the Pittsburgh Maulers. When I played freshman football at Baldwin High School, we wore the Pittsburgh Maulers uniforms because the Maulers had practiced at Baldwin Whitehall School District facilities. So when they folded, they donated the uniforms to the high school. So everybody on the team we all believed that we were the one wearing Mike Frazier's uniform. And so as far as I'm concerned, I wore his uniform not long after he did with the Maulers. But, it was an interesting thing. We had the gray uniforms with the purple and the burnt orange. So it was a little part of Pittsburgh history, and it's something that was kind of fun to be part of.
I hope on the field you did better than that ill-begotten USFL franchise in Pittsburgh, the Maulers, who really struggled.
Let's just say, as far as my football career goes, my broadcasting and writing careers are much more successful than my playing days.
Fair enough. We'll leave it at that. Springdale leading Leechburg by a score of 29-0, and Leechburg trying to get something going here on offense against a very difficult Springdale Dynamos defense. Bosman getting set to kick off.
When I was at Baldwin, Rob, we were Leechburg. Had a 28-game losing streak at one point.
That's tough for the kids to go through. Boy, you hate to see that happen. You hope that somewhere along the line they can get a win somewhere. Bosman with a kickoff, and Lochner fields it at his own 17-yard line, looking for some room, and drops the football. It just came out of his hip and is picked up, recovered by Springdale, so the Dynamos get the ball back. I believe it was Mitch Moser that picked up the fumble. It might have been David Hummel. David Hummel was the one who came up with the fumble recovery.
So Lochner just loses grip of the football, puts his head down. The thing they tell you, if you lose the ball, fall on it. And that's what he's already stepped past there. It's just been a tough night for him because he seems to be the guy that's gotten beat on a couple of those deep passes in the secondary. Now he has, another fumble on a kickoff. And this is just, this is sometimes how it goes for the teams when they're down. It's that when you get down, it just seems to be one thing after another. And that's what they have to kind of forget about is let's forget about the mistakes we make and concentrate on getting some points on the board.
9:19 remaining here in the second quarter. Man in motion is given to him. Zarisco with Mundakis out there blocking for him. And Mundakis, a nice block. Zarisco steps through a tackle, gets inside the 20 before Pat Mitch drags him down. And there, Leechburg looked to be in perfect defensive position. Instead, it winds up as a 20-yard gain for Zarisco.
You see Pat Mitch fights off blocks all the way downfield. Landers does a nice job of getting him out of the way, and Mitch comes back into the play. But Zarisco split those blockers, went right through the defenders, and does a nice job of picking up some nice yardage.
And Mundakis doing a nice job of getting a piece of the defender and allowing Zarisco an opportunity to burst through there. Good patient run. That looks like a Mundakis run. Zarisco maybe taking a page out of that playbook. Good patient run. T formation, two tight ends, whistle blows before the give to Mundakis, and looks like somebody moved too early on the Springdale Dynamos offensive line.
Well, it's easy to be patient, Rob, when you know that you've got a big line that's going to push people out of the way, so you can maybe do a little tap dancing back there and wait for the hole to open. It seems to be when Leechburg gets the ball, they're tentative because they know that they don't have much time or room to run.
PPG realizes the commitment of high school students in unlocking their potential. Devin Cox from Springdale is one such student who exemplifies those qualities and is tonight's PPG player profile. Devin Cox is not only an outstanding offensive lineman and defensive lineman of the football team, but also carries a 3.3 grade point average as a member of the law team and is involved with a number of charities of tonight's PPG player profile. Mundakis trying the right side, nowhere to go, and he is clobbered out of bounds as a host of Leechburg tacklers got over there, including Sheldon Lochner in on that stop.
And we talked about Devin Cox. What an advantage it is for a Class A program to have a kid who's 6'3", 275, and has that high motor like he has. This kid's a non-stop player. I saw him a lot of camps this past spring, and he was just a very intense guy, doing a lot of screaming and hollering, really getting himself pumped up and trying to do the same thing for his teammates. And I said, Devin, are you the leader of this team? He said, we're all leaders. We all do it together. And he talked a little bit about how he and McCauley like to listen to the bagpipes before the game, and that's what really gets them all revved up.
Second and goal from the 12. Man in motion, give, and now the ball's on the ground again, and it is still loose. Did Citrone come up with it? He did. Citrone recovers for Springdale all the way back at his own 21-yard line. It's going to be third and goal from all the way back at the 21, and once again, that blitz up the middle looked like it affected the play.
Yeah, it looks like number 68, Tim Feener got in the way and actually bumped into the ball as he was pulling. So, Citron, if he's had any difficulty tonight, is in handling the football. That's the third fumble. They lost the first two. Did a good job of picking that one back up.
Give Kevin Esselman some credit as well for getting some movement, getting some push back into that backfield of the Springdale Dynamos. Now Citron, back to pass. Being chased. Lost it to the corner of the end zone, and what is it? Is it picked off? Is it incomplete? It's out of bounds as Mitch and Landers battling for it, and Mitch is able to recover defensively, and it is going to be 4th and goal from the 21.
Well, Citron was under a lot of pressure there by number 51, Calvin Craig, the sophomore linebacker. You're going to see him blitz through the middle here and just about get his hands on it. Citron got the ball away, but Lochner, I believe that's Lochner.
No, it's Pat Mitch out there.
Pat Mitch did a good job of making sure that it wasn't a clean catch because Landers did come down with the ball. By the time he pulled it in, he was out of bounds.
Bosman will be on now to try a 35-yard field goal. Oh, wait a minute. No, Bosman's in there, but okay, yeah, he's going to put it down on the 33-yard. And remember, he's also the backup quarterback. Thought for a moment maybe he was setting up at a shotgun. He's going to set up for a field goal. It's going to be a 33-yard attempt. That downhold is good, and the kick is no good. A low-line drive that scurries under the crossbar, and it remains 29-0 for Springdale, and Leechburg will take over offensively. And it's the Blue Devils offense that is looking to get something positive going here. PPG realizes the commitments of high school students in unlocking their potential, and Pat Mitch from Leechburg is one such student who exemplifies those qualities. He is tonight's PPG player profile for Leechburg. Pat Mitch is not only a tight end and linebacker, very good player with the football team, but also carries a 3.67 GPA and is a volunteer counselor for youth basketball. He is tonight's PPG player profile from the Leechburg Blue Devils. The Blue Devils taking over their own 20-yard line. And the option to give to the upback, and he is banged down quickly. Devin McFall right at the line of scrimmage where he is bottled up. It'll bring up a 2nd and 10.
You know, you saw Bosman miss that field goal attempt, but this guy's going to be somewhat of a cult hero in this town for one reason. In 2003, the year of Springdale's Whitfield Championship, in the triple overtime against Rochester in the semifinals, this is the Rochester powerhouse that has owned Class A the better part of the last decade. It came down to the kicking, and he made a PAT the first overtime, a field goal in the second one to tie it, and the winning PAT for the Dynamos in the third overtime for the victory.
And that's what got him to Heinz Field and on their way to the championship. On the flat to McFall, and McFall out over the 25, close to the 27-yard line, picked up about 7 on the play. Going to bring up a 3rd and 3, and right on the money. Phillips to McFall on that play, and those short passes, those quick passes have worked pretty well tonight for this Leechburg offense. Maybe they found something that will work for them down the line.
It seems to be something that Phillips is very comfortable doing, too. You see him when he's running the option, he seems like he's a little tentative. The ball fakes aren't coming quite as fluently for him as they should. But when he has to drop back into the passing, especially the short drop, he seems to be able to do that, and he has a nice arm, and this kid's a good athlete. So, I think you could see him develop into maybe a passer into a passing offense.
Quick pass again to Mitch, and Mitch can't hang on as he's hit quickly there. Mario Camerata arrived at the same time the ball did. He jarred it loose, and it's going to bring up a 4th and 3, and it's going to force Leechburg to punt.
Well, Rob, we were talking about the Bosman and the field goals. That game was played at Highlands, and a lot of people say the road to Whitfield Championship game in Class A goes through Rochester. Well, that year it went through Highlands. Our road to the Whitfield Championship game is also going through Highlands next week. That's our next site knock at Highlands next week, 7 p.m. on Thursday. So interesting that we're following the same pathway.
DeCiccio now off with the punt once again, trying to angle it right side. Landers kind of drifting over there, but it'll bounce out of bounds. Good directional kick at the 45-yard line, and that is where Springdale will take over after that 28-yard punt. And part of the importance of that 28-yard punt was no return, as DeCiccio was able to angle it out of bounds. And Mike Landers has turned in an outstanding game so far for Springdale. We talked a little bit about him coming into this game, what he brings out of the backfield as a receiver. And here we see on the very first play of the game, after that turnover, goes over the left side and scores on the touchdown.
Well, he can not only do it with the rushing, but also as a receiver. That's what makes this guy a dynamic player, is that he can come out of the backfield, make a big catch, and then pull away from the defensive back so quickly and get into the end zone. The guy has a nose for the end zone. He has a nose for the ball on defense. He's just one of the, kind of the heart and soul of this team, really.
Mendakis picking his way inside, running between the tackles. Mendakis is not a big guy, 5'9", 170, but shifty and strong, built low to the ground, and is a good, strong runner who started here as a freshman and is the school's all-time leading rusher. He'll come up just short of the first down, going to bring up second and inches.
When you talk about Landers and you have Mondakis, that 1-2 punch is just so devastating in this classification. And I think, when they say they don't have a leader, they don't have a star player, I think a lot of the guys want to be just like those two. They're the winners on this team. They're the guys that have been through, the ups and downs, but they've been on the high for the most of the time they've been here. And I think that's why you see a lot of the kids want to be like their leaders.
Quick slant pass to Landers, makes the catch. He's hit as he makes that grab, but is able to hang on a 21-yard completion. Right on the money once again from Citrone, and despite the quick hit there, he is able to hang on and pick up 21 yards and the first down on a second and inches call.
Well, one of the things you see with Citrone is he's so efficient and effective. When he gets the ball there, he's really throwing the ball right on the money. He throws that one in traffic. Landers, perfect pass, perfect play. And that wasn't an easy throw right there, Rob.
Not an easy throw and not an easy catch. As you can see up on the fingertips, hit it immediately, dragged down, but another positive play down to the 25-yard line. Shown under center. Fakes to Mondakis. Back to pass. Looking once again for Landers. Has it open by the sideline. Good move. Spins to the sideline and scores. Landers goes into the end zone from 25 yards out. And it is 35-0. Springdale, third touchdown of the game for Landers.
Well, you're going to see Landers. He's going to catch this ball out of the backfield after the play-action fake. When he gets that ball, he's got Ryan Wilson right on him, but he puts a little shake to the left and beats him off to the right, beats the jersey tackle, breaks the tackle going across the goal line. Not only is this guy quick, but he's tough. And that's what you're really seeing Mike Landers. That's why he's able to get into the end zone, because once he gets that ball, he has nothing is in his mind except for getting to that end zone.
Well, Bosman will be on to try the extra point with Springdale up 35-0 and 5:04 remaining in the second. And it's a fake, and Bosman sprinting to the corner, and he is cut off and does not make it. Good alert hustle play by Jesse Smith. Nice job of snuffing that out, but Springdale leads 35-0.
You cheer every play, every first down, every end zone celebration. You bust your tonsils play after play and scream and shout like you've got a 260-pound linebacker on your tail. Then throw down a cold as ice Coke and get right back at it. Why? Because you can. Because you have to. Coca-Cola Football Town, USA.
Summit Academy is a private school reported to KD, approximately 30 minutes north of Pittsburgh. There's many opportunities being a coach, being a drug and alcohol counselor. Here we can see the fruits of your labor. In 6 months and 9 months in a year, you can see where that kid has gone socially, emotionally, in the classroom, where they've gone academically. It's just tremendous, and it's a good feeling. Contact us now. Come and join our team.
Welcome back to Veterans Memorial Stadium in Springdale for McDonald's High School football Thursday on FSN Pittsburgh, presented by the Pittsburgh Tribune-Review and Coca-Cola. Springdale has had 8 drives. They fumbled the ball 3 times. They've scored 5 touchdowns. Their average time of possession, you want to talk about explosive, 55 seconds. This is a team that can rack up some points in a hurry. Smith has a bounce off his face mask, picks it up at the 11-yard line, trying the right side, and scoots over the 20 and is knocked down at about the 21-yard line. And we are wandering into Mercy Rule territory in the second half if the score were to remain the way it is. And Kevin, perhaps you can explain the Mercy Rule.
Well, under the PIAA rules for the Mercy Rule, not until the second half, but once you hit 35-point lead, the clock starts rolling, and it only stops for a couple of occasions. A touchdown, a timeout, or an official timeout could be for one, but a timeout by the coaches, and a touchdown. There's very little that's going to stop that clock. Even if the other team scores and catches up and brings in less than 35, the clock continues to roll, and that's part of the reason why is once you have that sizable lead, they don't want to make it easy for the losing team to leave their starters in against another team's backups and bring the game back closer. That clock will continue to roll in the second half unless Leechburg scores.
Beautiful throw and catch there as Matus comes up with a diving grab out over the 29-yard line and close to the 30. The pickup of just over 9 yards, and it's going to be a 2nd and short as Springdale continues to do a pretty nice job on that short passing game. And again, you know, you're looking for something to build on here if you're Springdale, if you're Leechburg, and it could be this short passing attack. These timing patterns have looked good for this team.
Yeah, that's the one thing, you know, Jones said when the running wasn't working, they started going with quick pitches, short throws. You know, you see that they have Matus, they have Mitch, different guys they can throw the ball to, and it seems to be effective. At least they're moving the ball upfield and not losing yardage in that situation.
Yeah, Mitch picks up just a couple on that, but it is enough for a first down and the move to change with 4:04 remaining here in the second quarter at Veterans Memorial Stadium, built in 1939. They talked about renovating it for years. It's been a long battle here, and they finally came up with the money to do it. $1.5 million, we were told, put into this facility, and it is a beauty. And again, it's hard to describe just how good that field is. I don't know if you can necessarily tell on your television, but it is an outstanding field. And I wanted to tell you about McDonald's High School football Thursday next week on McDonald's High School football Thursday. Tune in and watch the Knights of Knox battle the Golden Rams from Highlands. That is next Thursday at 7 o'clock only on FSN Pittsburgh, sponsored by the Pittsburgh Tribune-Review and Coca-Cola.
And Rob, you know, you take a look at that field. The way we're looking at it now is kind of a skewered view from what the fans here have been used to watching, looking at the game, because this game is now, the field is now run parallel with the Allegheny River. It used to run perpendicular, so this field used to be actually situated on the other way, and they had, when they changed the field, the crown was going across the field the wrong way, so they had a couple games where there were quagmires here and everything. But you know, to look at this field and to see the job that they've done in such a small school, I would hope that this is inspiration for the other schools around the Whitfield to maybe, if they decide to go to change the playing surface, maybe consider grass and maybe come down here and take a look and see what Springdale did, because it's not just a football field, but they also have a beautiful field house, concession stand, state-of-the-art press box. So this is a school that, when they did it right.
That was premature in awarding Leechburg that first down. You saw the quarterback sneak that got it for him to pass out to Mitch, and it is knocked down, batted away by Camerata, the defensive back, who was all over that short pass. Now we see Leechburg still staying with that short pass, but Springdale maybe tighten the leash a little bit on those defensive backs, and understanding that is what Leechburg is going to try to do.
Yeah, you really see them cheating over to Mitch now. They notice that the ball's going his way a lot, so I think what you're going to have to see Leechburg do is maybe pump fake it one way, use the secondary receivers, try to take advantage of, maybe a guy like Wilson, who was out in the left flat there, if they can, try to do a little misdirection in that sense, using the passing game instead of the running game.
You got to hope he's got that much time, too. And now there is the pump fake, and the throw over to Matus, who makes the grab, gets out to the 45-yard line, and that's going to be a first down. Well, you called for it, 11 yards over the top, and they got the defense to bite there.
Yeah, well, sometimes you have to use your best player as a decoy, and that's the second time that Matus has come up with a big grab, and I think the first time, he also got him the first down. This is a little guy, but he's come up with a couple big plays.
And T.J. Phillips' numbers, 9 of 18, 55 yards, and did you see Zarisco jump that quick post? I mean, he was charging in fast. He was thinking interception, and they just lofted it over the top of him. No, 1st and 10 for the Leechburg Blue Devils, who have had the ball deep in Springfield territory a couple times, but have been undone by turnovers and some penalties. McFall goes in motion out to the right. On the draw, they give to Wilson, and he is bottled up. Going to lose a few on the play. Adam Burkhardt, the 6-foot, 320-pound nose tackle, leads the charge. 6-foot, 320 pounds. He benches 420. He is a big guy in the middle of that defensive line.
Well, the Tribune-Review at the beginning of the football season, we did a story on 300-plus guys. But this is a guy who seems to carry that weight pretty well. I mean, he's got a little belly there, but, does a nice job of carrying his weight and playing football. He's a tough kid, and he's also a very strong guy.
To bench 420 in high school, at any level, to bench 420 is a lot in high school. It's unbelievable. 2nd and 13, rolling now this way. Short pass in the flat is incomplete, intended for McFall. Will bring up a 3rd and about, you call it 13, with 2:02 remaining here in the second quarter, and Springdale up 35-0.
When I think they heard the footsteps on that one, Camerata was coming from the outside, and, that's too often that's happened for Leechburg, is they've dropped easy passes that could have been positive yardage. But, that's one of the things they're going to have to fight here is, teaching these kids to execute these plays the way that they're called and making sure that they do all the little things right. And that's where you have to sometimes start with the basics.
Eighth play of this drive, the third down conversion, and that quarterback sneak had been their first third down conversion of the night, 1 of 8 now, and a tough one here. 3rd and 13. McFall goes in motion. 2 backs in the set. Rolling right. Phillips looking, stopping, goes for DeCiccio, bobbling, and I think he held on. DeCiccio, you talk about a guy who's 6'1", 285 playing fullback, but he has soft hands. We've seen that in the tape. We looked at him. He's got pretty quick feet for a guy who's that size.
He does, and that's why they have him out there. He's a guy who is a weapon, and, you don't want to bury him on the offensive line when he's capable of doing those kind of things.
That's a great catch.
But at the same time, he touches the ball so rarely that you got to kind of wonder whether it's worth having him in the backfield when he can maybe help that line and really, serve as a great, maybe put him at guard and let him pull and let some of those running backs fall at him. I guess they look at it like, he's getting a running start here instead, rather than just pulling off the line. He's getting a couple steps, and Coach Jones said, once he gets moving, he can really move.
4th and 9, and they're going to try the option pass again. Lochner looking, going deep, looking for Mitch down there. He's got Landers with him. Landers intercepts it, spins away from the would-be tackler. Mitch has got him now. Mitch trying to wrestle him down, and now a whole bunch of Leechburg defenders come in and pile down. I suppose you could say that's just as good as a punt from Leechburg's perspective, but Mike Landers is having a heck of a ball game tonight.
Yeah, and it's his 3rd interception of the season. I think it's the 19th of his career. He's a guy who, like I said, he's a ball hawk. It was a nice design play. You're throwing it to your biggest guy out there, Mitch, who's 6'2". He plays center on the basketball team. You think he has some jumping ability, but you're throwing it at Mike Landers, who may be one of the best. We had him as one of our top 10 safeties in the Whitfield this season. He was in the better half of those safeties, so he's a guy who I just don't want to take my chances with him. What I'm trying to do is maybe lure him away from that play with another receiver out there and have Mitch one-on-one with the smaller corner if I can.
A flat 1 minute left, 4 receiver set for Citrone. 1 in the backfield is Mundakis. Citrone rolls to his right. Looking, doesn't have anybody. Now hit from behind and nailed by DeCiccio, and the sack will drop him back for a couple of yards. And Citrone comes up, runs over to the sideline, quickly looking for a play, and he's going to call timeout. He does call timeout with 48.5 seconds left on the play clock here at Veterans Memorial Stadium. And DeCiccio may be getting out a little frustration here.
Yeah, well, DeCiccio is the guy who made the tackle, but Kevin Eshelman's the one who blew up that play. You see them 77 there. He pushes him out of the pocket, and DeCiccio is able to come up and stop Citrone. So it was a little double team on their part, and it was a nice play on DeCiccio to make the stop.
In case you're wondering, Citrone is 5'9", 170, and we already told you about DeCiccio weighing 285 pounds. And in case you're wondering as well, when they hit you and drive into you and land on you like that, and they're 285 pounds, that hurts.
Well, I talked to Justin King last year about playing against Butler's Nate Hartong. And if you remember, Nate was over 400 pounds his senior year, and I said, how hard does he hit? And he said, it's not so much how he hits, because they all hit you, and you feel it. He said it's when he gets down and tackles you, and you can't get him off because you feel like you're suffocating. And he said, Nate did a good job of taking his time getting up.
Yeah.
So he made sure that, that you really felt not only the impact of the hit, but also just having 400 pounds on top of you after the play. And that's what I'm sure in a smaller scale that DeCiccio does when he hits a guy like Citrone.
And then they'll maybe use your chest with their hand to get up and, give you one more shove sort of on the way up. And, yeah, none of that stuff's pleasant. They give on the reverse on the sweep to Zarisco over to the right side. Has some room out there, steps out of bounds. He gets out close to the 35-yard line and gliding out there for about 11 yards on the play. Depends on where they spot. I guess we'll call it a 10-yard pickup out to the 34-yard line. Going to bring up a 3rd and short with 42.9 seconds left on the play clock. 35-0. Springdale's offense has been everything advertised. I suppose Coach Chuck Wagner, his 41st year of being a head coach with Springdale since '93. Maybe quibble with the 2 fumbles, but boy, it's just an impressive Dynamos offense. And we're going to hear from both bands coming up at halftime as well, part of the festivities as we try to capture all the excitement of high school football here in Western Pennsylvania. Give to the second back to it's Mundakis, cuts out to the right side, trying to get around Mitch, and Mitch makes the final tackle out at about the 35-yard line. That was the last guy to beat, but Mundakis on a simple dive, caught him off balance, and rambles out for 25 yards and a first down to the 37-yard line.
You can really see he does a good job of following his blockers, but then patience, flips to the outside. What if Mitch is making a lot of tackles downfield, but at least he's out there making tackles. They're really getting blown off the ball, and he's having to chase in pursuit, and he's doing a good job of it. But Mendakis just does a great job of getting through the hole quick, and then maybe showing a little patience, a little stutter step to follow his blockers and wait till the hole's open to the outside. That was a beautiful run by Wayne Mendakis.
You talked about the all-time leading rusher. Saw 2,400 career yards with a chance for 3,000 in his career. Going to get a bunch more right here. Moved up and against it. Again, it's Mitch way downfield, driving inside the 20 down to the 18-yard line with 27.4 seconds left. A 24-yard run this time as he just continues to pile up huge yardage. And now Springdale quickly going to move to the line of scrimmage, waiting for the refs to reset the ball. Two receivers, split to the left, one down to the right. And the quick spike by Citrone with 24.8 left on the game clock here at Veterans Memorial Stadium. And another look at that run.
Well, you see the fake to the outside, and then he goes inside. Mendakis does a nice job. And what I really like about this kid is he's not a very big guy. When you look at Wayne Mendakis, 5'9", 170, when he gets moving, he likes to lower that shoulder and continue getting positive yardage, and he almost always falls forward.
And Mitch Moser was doing kind of a mosey down the field, looking for somebody to block down there. There was just nobody around. It was wide open. Zach Jameson has checked in now for Mendakis in the backfield. Receiver split wide, and then two in the slot. Leechburg picking blitz. Citrone moves to his right. Finds Lander along the sidelines inside the 5-yard line. Down right to the 5-yard line. And with 21.1 seconds left, Springdale knocking on the board. And the door, they've had some big plays in scrimmage. They have 7 plays of over 20 yards, a 21, 24, 25, 29-yarder, a 36-yarder, 57-yarder, 63-yarder. Boy, this is an explosive Dynamos offense. And it'll be first and goal from the 5-yard line. 21.1 seconds remain. Citrone has the team to the line of scrimmage. Receivers split either way, two in the slot. And it's going to be a quarterback sneak straight ahead. Bouncing off, Citrone still battling, still staying on his feet. And Citrone, an unbelievable individual effort on a quarterback sneak, takes it in from 5 yards out. And Springfield leads 41-0.
Well, that's why they tell you to play to the whistle. Bo Citrone was. You saw Leechburg stop him on the short yardage, but he bounces off that. Nobody had him wrapped up. Great second effort, and here a great third effort to get across the line of scrimmage. A little assist there, you see. But Bo Citrone did most of the work. I wouldn't give too much of an assist. But, Bo Citrone just did it. It was a great job on his part to continue turning those legs and trying to get in the end zone and make it happen.
I don't think Nate Zarisco's shove made much of a difference. He was getting in. Citrone, a great effort there. Now Bosman on to try the extra point, and partially blocked, but still finds its way through, and it's just sort of been that way for Leechburg. Got a hand on it. Jesse Smith racing over, got a piece of it, but Bosman's kick goes through. And with 14.3 seconds remaining in the first half, Springdale leading Leechburg 42-0.
Well, this has been quite an impressive effort by the Springdale Dynamos. What a way to christen your stadium with a rededication ceremony. You got a great crowd out here. They're really supportive, top-ranked teams, kind of sending a message to the rest of Whitfield Class A, especially your Eastern Conference opponents that are coming up, that we're for real. And now you're seeing what's coming.
Their 6 touchdown drives, the longest has taken 2 minutes and 25 seconds. And it's just an offense that can come at you in so many different ways. You go 73 yards in just 46 seconds. And the combination of running and throwing, clearly they like to try to run the ball, but the fact that they can throw it is just scary for teams that are going to have to face this Dynamos offense.
Yeah, I mean, they really make the teams honor their passing game and respect the passing game. And it may be just as devastating as the rushing game for them. This is a team that you got to wonder if maybe if they went to a spread offense with a single back set, put Mendakis in the backfield, and they could pass the ball over teams as effective and as efficient as Bo Citrone has been tonight.
When we talked about that offensive line being so big and so good, though, that's not a bad game plan, the one they're sticking to right now.
No, it's certainly not a necessity for them to pass the ball very often, if at all.
Matus gets it out to the 28-yard line with 9.1 seconds remaining. And Springdale leading by a score of 42-0 over Leechburg. And Matus kind of hobbling off, just a little guy, and he really busted it up in there. Showed some guts running right into the teeth of that large Springdale coverage team.
Well, the best thing he did was he showed a good hands out there, caught the ball safely, and made a few yards without having to worry about a fumble or a muff or anything like that. And I think that's the key for Leechburg on the kick return right now.
Power I formation, receivers split each way for quarterback C.J. Phillips. And Phillips will give to DeCiccio. He is hammered to the ground after picking up a couple yards. And that is going to bring the first half to a conclusion. John McCauley, the big hit there, and takes off his helmet and wants to say something to his teammates, and they're doing their talking on the field. They lead 42-0. McCauley trying to get the folks revved up. The big 6'1", 210-pound junior linebacker talked about the shoulder injury last week. He's another very good player. You watch him on tape, and he's just all over the field. And we've seen him score a touchdown tonight. Very impressive defensively as well. And the officials appear to be huddling. I'm not sure if they've got anything going. It looks like Springdale's just kind of slowly walking off the field here. It looks like, okay, they're going to usher him off now and clear the field with Springdale up 42-0. Our bands are coming up here at halftime as well. It's always such a big part of high school football. Trenny Kuzniak is standing by down in the field. Trenny?
Thanks so much, guys. I have Leechburg head coach Mark Jones. And Mark, obviously this is a very difficult situation to be in. What do you try to accomplish in the second half?
Second half, we're just going to come out and keep playing as hard as we've been playing. Springdale's a very, very good team, and they're very hard to defend. Their defense is very tough. We're going to keep trying the things that we game plan for. We've moved the ball, and just we've stalled at times that were crucial, and we've had a couple drop balls. But my kids are playing hard, and I'm very, very proud to be their coach right now.
Thank you very much.
Playing hard. Thank you
very much. All right, we'll be right back after this with the #1 Cochran halftime show. You can win at H3 Hummel. We'll also recap the first half, but for now, let's send it to break.
Football is more than a game in our town. It's a way of life. From the Pee-wees to the pros, we eat, sleep, and think football 24/7. And speaking of eating, after the game, treat your team to the great taste of McDonald's Quarter Pounder with Cheese Extra Value Meal, or the Double Quarter Pounder with Cheese Extra Value Meal. From our team to yours, all the best this season.
Glory, delivered weekly on the Highmark High School Sports Practice. Sunday mornings at 9 on FSN.
Hurt in an accident? Call my law firm now to see if you're entitled to collect money for your injuries. For a free consultation, call Edgar Snyder and Associates, 1-800-94-EDGAR.
Barlow and the Niners, McNabb and the Eagles. Fox NFL Sunday this weekend in HD. Visit Davis Toyota today for these great baseball specials. Now at Davis, you can hit a grand slam with the all-new design 2005 Toyota Avalon. With 7 to choose from, you're sure to find the one perfect for you. Or check out Davis Toyota's huge selection of used vehicles. Go on, get out of here and get to Davis Toyota on McKnight Road across from the Ross Park Mall. Davis Toyota, where the quality is Toyota and the value is Davis. Call 1-866-770-1025.
Law of Power number 19. Know who you're dealing with. When you're recommended for physical therapy, Panther Physical Therapy has the years of clinical experience you deserve. Our therapy and hours are built around you. We care and respect your privacy. We give back to the communities we serve. Tom Mego, Sean Collins, Josh Lindahl, Vicky English, Jay Lemke, Paula Dolkos. Panther Physical Therapy. If you're not getting therapy from Panther, you're not getting the best physical therapy available.
The halftime show on FSN Pittsburgh is brought to you by #1 Cochran. Bigger than ever, better than ever. Let's go downstairs to Trenny Kuzniak. Trenny?
Thanks very much, guys. Well, let's take it to the field now where the Leechburg Band, led by Rob Reams, is performing a superhero mix. continues. We just saw the Leechburg High School Band. Coming up next will be the Springdale High School Band. There's about 50 members to their band, and they are led by Stephen Smetana, who is their band director. Now, as you can see, the score is 42-0 in favor of the Dynamos, in favor of Springdale. So there's a rule to explain to everybody at home. There's a mercy rule in Whitfield football, which says that if a team is leading by 35 or more points at halftime, the clock continues to run in the second half. The second half will basically just be a straight 24 minutes of football, with the exception of any timeouts called by the respective teams or for injuries. So it should be a quick second half. And now we'll send it back to the field for the music of the Springdale High School Band.
From this year's show entitled Tune Time. Numbers include 20th Century Fox Fanfare, The Addams Family, and Meet the Flintstones. Good luck to the band on Tuesday, September 20th at the AK third selection is from the hit movie Rocky, Gonna Fly Now. Being broadcast on the MSA Sports Network. You can listen to the game anytime you want by logging on to msasports.net. The exclusive home for the Whitfield Boys and Girls Basketball Playoffs is the MSA Sports Network. All right, the number one Cochran halftime show continues next, while the field goal contest and a chance to win a H3 from Hummer. Also, we'll have first half highlights with Rob and Kevin. That's all next.
I bought my first car from him 40 years ago, 14 years ago.
4 minutes ago.
I want a Cadillac.
A Pontiac.
A Hyundai.
A Nissan.
A sandwich.
A GMC SUV.
They treated me like a VIP.
Like I was Ben Roethlisberger.
They treated me that way, too.
In 40 years, there's only one place I've ever gone.
Only one place I'll ever go.
From Robinson to South Hills to Monroeville, no one treats you better than number one Cochran.
In today's world, there's a trait that employers value more than anything else, and that's character. For over 150 years, California University has prepared students for fulfilling careers and meaningful lives. Values like integrity, civility, and responsibility are integrated into classroom and campus activities. Our students enter their careers with a high degree of character for livelihood and for life. That is our mission and our difference.
Stay tuned for an important message for injured workers collecting work comp benefits. Has the company doctor who's treating you sent you back to work, but you know you're still too injured to return to your current job? Has your employer offered you a modified or light-duty job? If you answered yes to any of these questions, you may be in danger of losing your work comp benefits. Don't let this happen to you. Call us now for a free evaluation of your legal rights.
For a free consultation, call Edgar Snyder & Associates. 1-800-94-EDGAR.
Pennsylvanians are killed each year trespassing at mines and quarries. I'm Kathleen McGinty, Secretary of Environmental Protection. Riding old mine sites and diving in abandoned quarries may look like fun, but those joyrides are suicide missions, and that diving is about dying. Emergency responders risk their lives on dangerous search and rescue missions. Mines and quarries are not playgrounds. They can kill you. Stay out and stay alive.
Welcome back to McDonald's High School Football Thursday, Veterans Memorial Stadium in Springdale. The Dynamos giving their home crowd a big treat with a 42-0 lead over to Leechburg. And Leechburg came into this game 0-3. They were 0-9 a season ago, Kevin. We expected them to struggle a little bit, but Springdale has been as good as advertised.
They really have, and the Dynamos have been dynamic. And you see they have a great rushing offense, passing offense. They've just been able to do a lot of things different ways. And you see the opportunistic defense. Right from the first kick, they get the fumble on the opening kickoff and score immediately with Mike Landers. The first is 3 touchdowns. He's been a very special player tonight. But you also see Bo Citrone right there, 5 of 7, 202 yards passing, a couple touchdown passes. He's been dynamic for Springdale. And you saw John McCauley, the tight end. He's hit Landers for a touchdown here. Springdale has just been able to do pretty much whatever it's wanted.
Yeah, no question about it. Landers gets into the end zone there, and then it's thrown back to the air once again, and he will find McCauley streaking down the right side. He'll outrace Sheldon Locker and go in for the touchdown. And this first half to make it 42-0. You see the first downs all in favor of Springdale. The rushing yards, Leechburg has not been able to get anything going on the ground. You know, again, Mark Jones and company trying to look for something positive. The passing yards, they were able to throw for 59 yards. But once again, Kevin, the turnovers, 4-2. You know, Springdale turning it over twice, which is more, I'm sure, than Chuck Wagner wants, but 4 turnovers for Leechburg, that's been such a big bugaboo.
Especially from the opening kick. When you lose the opening kick, the first time they won the coin toss all season, they lose the fumble on the opening kick. It was really devastating to Leechburg. To get behind, now they're down by a significant margin. They're going to come out here, and the PIAA mercy rule is going to be in effect. I think the only thing Leechburg can really look forward to is trying to get on the scoreboard in the third quarter for the first time this season.
When you talk about time of possession being a misleading stat, we saw on the statistics Leechburg dominating time of possessions. Well, Springdale's only needed an average of about 50, 55 seconds per drive to score their touchdowns. It's just an explosive offense. It isn't so much that they had the ball for a long time. It's just that they know what to do with it when they have it. They're so multiple, Kevin. It's hard to imagine a team being able to slow them down much, as once again, for the 4th time this year in 4 games, they had cracked the 40-point barrier.
Yeah, I think they're really doing more than anything this game. They're sending a message out to Class A that Springdale's for real, that they deserve the #1 ranking, and that they're the top dog going into this Whitfield season. You know, I would say right now they have to be the favorite to win the Whitfield Championship, although Rochester's always in the mix.
The Dynamos won the WPIL title in 2003. As you mentioned, it was their first in 30 years. They got back to the semifinals a year ago and appear to be the team to beat again this year, led by Coach Chuck Wagner in his 41st year as a head coach, and he is standing by now with Trenny Kuznarek. Trenny?
I do not have... Hey, guys, I'm still waiting for Coach Chuck Wagner. He has not yet come out of the locker room. He's hanging out. So as soon as I have him, we'll get our interview with him, and we'll get you back on the phone.
I'm sorry, Trenny, my fault. I thought I heard him say toss it down to Trenny Kuznarek. So we'll await with Coach Chuck Wagner, who began his coaching career at Oakmont High School back in 1961. That was his first year as a head coach. 41 years as a head coach, 1963. It's 41 years and a remarkable performance turned in and turning around the Springdale program. As you mentioned, and I talked with Coach Mark Jones about it before the game, Leechburg is now where Springdale was when Coach Wagner took over the program.
And maybe Springdale was even worse. You know, this is a Springdale team that had 35 consecutive losses at one point, was 1 game away from setting a Whitfield record for losses and consecutive losses, and they broke that string against Leechburg. I think Leechburg, coming in with 12 consecutive losses, was trying to break its streak against Springdale. That's not going to happen tonight, not as effective as Springdale has been. But this is maybe a model for Leechburg to look at and say, this is the program where we are, this is where they were, and this is where we want to be. Someday, if we work hard and we do the right thing, maybe this is a chance that someday Leechburg will be talked about as the class of Class A.
Yeah, Mark Jones playing a lot of sophomores and juniors, and another sideline story to this game today. Springdale is justifiably proud of their new facility here at Veterans Memorial Stadium. It has been renovated, and they have done an absolutely beautiful job. Now let's go downstairs to Trenny Kuznarek. Trenny?
All right, thanks very much, guys. Well, Coach Wagner, a comfortable lead and making a comfortable way out here. So we're going to go now to the #1 Cochran halftime pick. This young man has a chance to win a Hummer H3.
A 30 and a 45-yard field goal in order, without missing, to win the vehicle. Whenever you're ready. Minor adjustment of the ball. We're rooting for you, Tim.
Maybe next time. I don't think he had the right kind of kicking shoes on, but right after this break, we come back with second half of football after Springdale and Leechburg.
Don't buy a used car when it's South Hills Kia. 3 vehicles, 1 low price, $13,995. Sedona minivan, Sorrento, or the all-new Sportage, only $13,995. 1 low price, $13,995.
Stop, this is a Kia for me. Stop. it for you.
Intensity, delivered weekly on the Highmark High School Sports Practice, Sunday mornings at 9 on FSN.
I bought my first car from him 40 years ago.
14 years ago.
4 minutes ago.
I bought a Cadillac. A Pontiac.
A Hyundai.
A Nissan. A Sandwich. A GMC SUV.
They treated me like a VIP.
Like I was Ben Roethlisberger.
They treated me that way, too.
In 40 years, there's only one place I've ever gone.
Only one place I'll ever go.
From Robinson to South Hills to Monroeville, no one treats you better than number one Cotton.
Hi, I'm Jerome Betty, and you're watching Savin on Sports Center with Stan Savin. 33 years ago, I started out as a labor at Thermo King, and today I'm president and CEO. We manufacture the most energy-efficient insulated glass system in the market today. And in celebration of our 33rd anniversary, our customers will receive 33% off every purchase, now through the 15th of the month. We know that our success is tied to customer satisfaction. We're counting on it. Thermo Twins, employee-owned, employee pride.
Summit Academy is a private school for Portage Utica youth, approximately 30 minutes north of Pittsburgh. There's many opportunities, being a coach, being a drug and alcohol counselor. Here we can see the fruits of your labor. In 6 months and 9 months in a year, you can see where that kid has gone socially, emotionally, in the classroom, where they've gone academically. It's just tremendous, and it's a good feeling. Contact us now. Come and join our team.
Welcome back to Veterans Memorial Stadium in Springdale for McDonald's High School Football Thursday on FSN Pittsburgh. Some happy Springdale fans, and they've got plenty to be excited about as their team leads 42-0 as we get set to begin the second half. Leechburg will kick off. Remember, they received in the first half and fumbled on the opening kickoff. One play later, Springdale was able to score the touchdown, go on top, and they have never looked back.
Well, I'll throw in a fun fact for you, Rob. The team that leading this series, the all-time series, which started in 1932, is Leechburg. They have a 31-26 edge. The first game was 1932. Springdale won that one 13-0. But Springdale endures 19 losing seasons in a row from 75 to 94. But Leechburg has endured 13 consecutive losing seasons since the last winning season came in 91.
DeCiccio ready to kick off, and it is a short one. And we picked up and out over the 35-yard line, and now finding some room is Brian Zoller. And Brian Zoller gets to the outside, has a couple men to beat, and is finally dragged down as he gets out to the 30-yard line by Steve Matus. Matus makes the tackle on a big return from Zoller of 47 yards to set Springdale right up again in business.
Well, what's the wall form here as he picks it up off the bounce, and you see the wall form to his left, and Zoller just simply follows it and, runs past a whole load of Leechburg defenders until Matus tracks him down. He only had one other guy to beat, which was DeCiccio. You see coming into your screen at the end.
Taking over the 31-yard line, Andrew Bosman is the new quarterback. We're going to see plenty of substitutions here for Springdale. Give over the right side to Zoller. Zoller powering his way forward for 7 yards. And that's going to bring up a 2nd and 3 as the first teamers are, for the most part, out of there.
And Leechburg doesn't have a whole lot of depth. They only have 31 players in the whole team, so you're going to see the majority of their starting lineup remain in the game. You may see them give a blow to a couple of the older kids, like, maybe Mitch or Eshelman or somebody like that. But they don't have a whole lot of depth, and they have 11 freshmen out of that 31. So Leechburg's going to have to continue playing their starters, so don't think this is a case of a team leaving the starters in too long.
Give over to the left side, looking for some room, kind of pecking his way forward for a yard or two is Zach Jamison, the 5'10", 160-pound senior, who we saw come in at the end of the game on that quarterback, end of the first half, I should say, on that quarterback sneak by Bo Citrone. He had entered the game briefly. Clock continues to run here on a 3rd and about 3, but we are 2nd and 3. We have a flag on the play, so let's see what the call is. And we're still talking things over, and it's going to be a false start.
Well, Rob, one of the good things about having a team that's as dominant as you are, you have to, if the game's put away at halftime, you can maybe take some of the starters out, give them a blow, get some young kids in the game, and get them some game experience. One of the other downfalls you have to look at is that your starters haven't.
5 yards for the Second down.
Your starters haven't played an entire game, and you get into some of the heart of the conference schedule, which is what Springdale's about to do, and you have to worry, well, have these kids played 4 quarters, and how they're going to be doing in the fourth quarter of a game against a tough opponent when you're playing against the Duquesnes and the Clares of this conference.
Give over the right side, and Zoller bangs his way down to the 25-yard line. I agree with you. I think it would be more of a concern if you were later in the season and you weren't able to get your regulars in playing 4 quarters. But they'll hit games now here soon where they're going to have to do that. But I also agree with you about the younger guys getting invaluable experience against teams in the Eastern Conference that they're going to have to be going against. You're already starting some underclassmen. You know, if you're the Springdale Dynamos, and now you get a chance for some of the other underclassmen to get in there and play. Maybe there's a stray senior or two who isn't playing a whole awful lot. He gets a chance to play in his senior year. So, you know, a lot of positives in getting big leads and having your team be able to play some games. Quick motion and the handoff wide, and looking for some room to run is John. Is that John McCauley? No, I beg your pardon. That was number 36, Mike Devine.
Well, the Trib took a look at that issue today in our high school football preview section when Keith Barnes wrote an article about some of the problems that Class A schools have when they don't have a lot of players. Sometimes if one key guy goes down, that can ruin your season. But in this sense, when your guys haven't played a lot, if you have these young guys in the game, at least they're seasoned, and if somebody goes down, they're ready to step in. They've played against varsity competition, and in this case, they've played against first stringers.
No question. Now 4th and 4 is Bosman, the new quarterback here for the Dynamos, brings the team to the offensive line. Quick motion, the fake, and the give up the middle. And this is going to be close to a first down, but it looks like Brian Zoller might have it. Depends upon the spot. And it looks like they are going to give him the first down. You see the clock continuing to roll here there on the top of your screen. We do have the mercy rule in effect in case, Kevin, somebody wasn't here in the first half. Maybe you could just explain it to him once again.
When you go up by 35 points, it comes effective in the second half only. But when you're up by 35-point advantage, the clock runs continuously. The only way you can stop it is for a touchdown, an official's timeout, or a coach's timeout. And so these teams are going to see this clock move. And what it does is it gives the winning team a chance to get the game over with, the losing team a chance to, they have some plays in there, but it's just kind of, showing a lot of mercy for these teams and realizing the game's out of control.
That's right. You don't want to see things completely out of control. Brian Strange got the run there, the junior. Picked up a couple over the left side to pick up, to move it to a second and, we're going to call it 8 or 9 yards here for the Dynamos.
Well, I think when you look at the Springdale program, how they've turned it around, and Chuck Wagner believes it really started back when he got here in 93, 94 that year. He was able to get a youth football program instituted, and you see the Allegheny Valley Youth Football Program that covers Springdale Borough, Springdale Township, Cheswick, and Harmer Township. And that's these seniors that you saw play in the first half. Those guys are products of that youth football program, and that's been the key to this whole turnaround, is that they've started it young, and these guys are all playing through the same system. And a lot of the coaches that started with that youth football program have now moved their way up.
No substitute for that as Zach Jameson picks up 4 or 5 yards. And here are the Pittsburgh Tribune review rankings of the WPIL Class A, and I think most people would say Springdale and Rochester. Duquesne can have something to say about that later this year against Springdale in their Eastern Conference matchup as well.
Springdale has to play both Duquesne and Clareton, which is 0-3. That's no misprint. Clareton is 0-3, but their losses are to Duquesne, Rochester, and Washington, and they gave Duquesne a heck of a game last week. So that's a Clareton team that could make some noise. Sarah Catholic's another team, 3-0 in Class A, also in Eastern Conference. I think the dark horse that you saw there, not a lot of people are talking about them right now, but the Bishop Canevas Crusaders have a very good team, and we'll see whether they can make some noise when it comes playoff time.
Zoller bangs ahead for a first down, and the sticks and move once again as they get inside the 10. Be first and goal at the 10-yard line for the Springdale Dynamos. And it was Rochester and Springdale that had that great triple overtime matchup back in 2003.
Well, like I said, that it seems like the road to the Little Championship goes through Rochester one way or the other. And, the Rams have just been the power in Class A. And I think a lot of it has to do with them knowing how to play come championship time.
Jameson tried the left side, lost his footing, went down right around the line of scrimmage, may have picked up a half a yard. It seemed like that the Big 7 conference was really dominant there for a while. Monaca and Rochester seemed to be the cream of Class A, but now Springdale steps forward, and this whole Eastern Conference seems to have raised their level to the point certainly where you could say that they're extremely competitive with the Big 7.
They really have, and I think it took some years of the Big 7 domination took over, and I think there was some pride issues, and I think the Eastern Conference said, hey, we have athletes here. When you talk about Clairton and Duquesne and now Springdale, Sarah Catholic has Rich Bowen back at the helm. The Eagles, they're turning their program around. The Eastern Conference and the Big Seven Conference have been the dominant conferences in Class A football.
Sweep wide and oops. Big hit, couple-yard gain there over the right side, and DeCiccio with a big hit on Mike Devine, and Devine goes 5'9", 163. DeCiccio goes 6'1", 285, and here's another look at that
That's
hit.
what you call putting a hat on him when you see DeCiccio lead at helmet first, and you just see him stop dead in his tracks right there. DeCicio's really done very limited things on offense, but defensively he's been one of the standouts for the Blue Devils.
In the first half, Springdale had the ball for just 8 minutes and 4 seconds and turned that into 49 points. On this drive now, they're already over 7 minutes because of the running clock. Now over the right side, Jamison plows inside the 5, gets down to the 4-yard line before he is finally wrapped up and brought down.
Well, you saw that
bring
quote.
Up a 4th and 4.
You saw that quote from DeCiccio saying, football defense is great and everything, but I love offense. That's the awesome part for me. I think, the guy might need to rethink his mindset, because in college he's going to be recruited most likely as a defensive lineman, and he's really shown that that's where he stands out on the field is with his defensive play. He's a big hitter. He's a guy who's a big body who can move. When you find a 285-pound lineman that can move, he's got a chance. I would think that some college might take a look at him as maybe a Division II school, take a look at him and say, you're playing in high school, but we're going to move you down to a defensive tackle.
4.840 that he runs. I mean, that's pretty good speed. The official timeout here, and let's see what this is all about. As the clock stops at 4:03 remaining here in the second half, and we have some water coming out on the field, and one of the Leechburg coaches is coming out as well, and we'll be back to sort things out in just a moment. 42-0, Springdale leading Leechburg.
Right now I've got a 16-page brochure on press. I get a lot of business from them, that's for sure. I've got an ad in the paper for another pressing. It's great. You see, a lot of the bigger companies doing so much work out of town or out of state. I'm glad they keep so much business here. My new pressman will be too.
There's one insurer who knows that the health of the community depends on the health of the economy. A helping hand in the places we call home. Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Football is more than a game in our town. It's a way of life. From the Pee-wees to the pros, we eat, sleep, and think football 24/7. And speaking of eating, after the game, treat your team to the great taste of McDonald's Quarter Pounder with Cheese Extra Value Meal, or the Double Quarter Pounder with Cheese Extra Value Meal. From our team to yours, all the best this season.
Welcome back to Veterans Memorial Stadium in Springdale for McDonald's High School Football Thursday. That's the venerable Don Pappy Bolton.
Well, you look at a couple 70-year-old guys on the sidelines here. These guys grew up, they were classmates and teammates at Oakmont High School, Bolton and Chuck Wagner. And these two guys, now they're here running the Springdale program. Bolton was the head coach in the 60s at East Ear and West Ear. And so these guys are, they're old-timers, but they're turning around, bringing a lot of enthusiasm to this program. And they've talked about, Chuck Wagner talked about how, he's got a lot of young assistants to balance it out for him.
Got his 200th win a couple years ago. We're going to have a flag on the play. It's probably going to be refused if it can be, as they couldn't punch it in from inside the 5-yard line. And it's going to be an illegal procedure penalty. Let's see what the call is going to be. And we have one of the players, Zoller, moving slowly as he gets up off the field. And let's see if they have to take this penalty, if there's a pre-snap penalty, or whether it'll go over on downs and Leechburg will get a chance to get their hands on the ball. And
false start on the offense. Declined. First down, Leechburg.
Okay, so Leechburg gets the ball with 3:45 remaining here in the third quarter. And we talked about Pappy Bolton, too. They played a Kiski prep together, and then Pappy decided that he needed to make some money. So he went into the insurance business in the 60s from 1970 to 1998. And Coach Wagner said, hey, I'm trying to get this program going here at Springdale. Why don't you come join me? And Pappy said, okay. They talked about coaching together, being friends at high school at Oakmont and then at Kiski Prep. And so it's really a nice story to see Pappy Bolton and Chuck Wagner out there. A couple of the elder statesmen of the WPIL.
Yeah, and there are a couple legends in the AK Valley as well.
The Quick pass up top, and Mitch has it batted away out there defensively by Zach Jameson. So right back to pass in the shadow of their own goalpost as we get down to 3:15 remaining here in the third quarter.
Well, Ron, one of the things that I really like about Chuck Wagner is here's a guy who has 216 career victories, on his way to 217 in 41 seasons. But he's 58, 70, and 1 heading into this game at Springdale. Now, somebody with a big ego could have said, hey, I'm well on my way to 300 victories. Why bother with a program as bad as Springdale was? And I think he liked the challenge, and I think he deserves every accolade he receives for turning this program around because it was a heck of a job. You know, you look back and see this is a program with 35 consecutive losses. Now they're one of these teams that's dominant in Class A.
Phillips hands off. It's just a short pickup on the play there by Wagner, and it's going to bring up a 3rd and long for the Leechburg offense. Or Wilson, I beg your pardon, Ryan Wilson on the carry there, and he's dragged down after just a short gain. Going to be a 3rd and 9 as we get down to 2:20 remaining. And you know, you talk about the program that they've built, and just coming through this community earlier today, driving through a little before 5 o'clock, and you see the people already walking down to the stadium to see the inevitable. You're entering Dynamos country, but then you see the things in storefronts, and you see all the people out here that are dressed in orange and black, and clearly, they've always had good support here, but the job that Wagner's been able to do is really help. Intercepted, tremendous interception, bringing it back for a score is Greg Arch, a freshman who comes up with the interception and returns it 14 yards for a score off the bobbled pass. Well, how about that play by Greg Arch?
Well, here's a heads-up play by Greg Arch. He really is in the right place at the right time. But watch this. He makes a fingertip grab off the tip pass, and it spins off and goes diving into the end zone. What is this, a heads-up play by a young kid here? Here's a guy, a couple years, less than a year ago, he's on the sidelines here in the stands, wearing his jersey, watching the Dynamos. Now he's out there scoring a touchdown in a varsity game.
Now, 1:48 left. The Dynamos get into a defensive score here. We have a timeout being called by the Springdale Dynamos out on the field.
Well, we talked about a couple of AK legends in Pappy Bolton and Chuck Wagner. I'll give you some facts I got from another AK Valley legend, George Guido, who's a Whippeal historian. We've talked a lot about Leechburg and the struggle that they've had. This is a program that won 3 Whippeal titles in 1953 and 65 in Class AA and 66 in Class A. Leechburg was the first Whippeal school to win it in the higher classification and drop to a lower classification and win it again the next year. And Springdale also has its share of Whippeal titles, 1932 in Class A, 46 and 73 in AA, and then 30 years later they won the single A title. So 29 years between playoff appearances for Springdale.
This week it's an exciting triple-header beginning with SMU taking on Texas A&M. Then after the College Football Saturday kickoff show presented by Kyocera, Rice battles number 2 Texas, followed by Arkansas taking on number 1 USC. It all begins at 12:30 Eastern only on FSN Pittsburgh. And, you go through the towns like this and you see what it means to them. You see what high school football means to them. You see the community getting behind it. That's a big part of what we've tried to bring to people on the broadcast here in FSN Pittsburgh, the importance of it, the fact that they had the ceremony today. Clearly they wanted it to be on television, but you look at this facility and whether this was on TV or not, and you see the crowd here, this is just so important to each community. And it's nice to see after that long absence that you talked about, Coach Wagner to be able to come here and get some help from Pappy Bolton and be able to bring winning football back to this community after a very long drought.
Yeah, that's really means so much to these kids. This is, winning is life and death for them at this time of their life.
And Bosman not going to score, and we had a flag on the play. I think we had a little movement before the snap, and I believe that's going to be declined. And I believe Springfield will be kicking off to Leechburg with a score of 48-0. That is the call, legal procedure. And so the extra point, the 2-point attempt, is no good. And Springdale leads Leechburg 48-0.
I'll throw out another nugget about that Leechburg 65 championship team. The head coach of that team was a guy who's now at IUT, Frank Signetti. So this is you see some of these programs, they spawn bigger players, bigger talents.
And we were talking to some folks before the game that came out here and talking about some of the glory years, some of the great players they've had. We'll try to get a little bit more into that when we come back. 48-0, Springdale has the lead.
Introducing Trib Total Media. We're more than daily and weekly newspapers. We're also radio, websites, magazines, penny savers, and television. So whatever you want, you can get it from us. Trib Total Media. We deliver newspapers and more.
Join Stan Savran every Tuesday for a weekly update, including all the latest news and information about the Pittsburgh Steelers. All from the man who makes the calls. The Bill Cowher Press Conference. Tuesdays at noon on FSN Pittsburgh.
Coming up tonight at 10 on Pittsburgh Sports Tonight, Big Ben has been downgraded to questionable for Sunday's game. Plus, we'll hear from Penguin netminder Jocelyn Tebow. All that and much more tonight at 10 on PST.
Freshman Nathan Anderson will be back to kickoff. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the famous athletes here in just a moment, as it's 48-0 now. Springdale leading Leechburg, and Anderson, the freshman, will get set to boot it away and gives it a kick. Short one, going to bounce up, and Smith's going to pick it up at his own 25-yard line, going to cross the 30, and is going to be banged down at the 31-yard line. We talked about the renovations of this stadium. John Robbins here for Springdale doing such a big job of helping to put this together, but they were putting the finishing touches on the field. Our cameras were out here on Tuesday at FSN Pittsburgh, catching them, putting in the 5-yard stripes, and I mean, this field it's just immaculate, and you can see the pride and the care that they've taken to this field already. It is in brilliant shape. I mean, again, we talked about it earlier, but it looks like turf. It is so thick, it's hard to believe that it's just plain natural grass. It's a beautiful field.
It really is. It's one of a kind in the Whip, because usually at this point in the season you're going to see a lot of barren part of the field in the center of the field, and most schools, when they have to share it with so many other programs with youth football and soccer and the like.
The sophomore T.J. Phillips keeps and picks up a couple of yards there. We're talking about some famous athletes in the community.
Well, Leechburg, you know, they got Mickey Morandini, played on their baseball Whippeal finalist in 1982, went on to play for the Phillies, had a great major league career. Dick Hunter played on the 53 team. He ended up going on playing at NC State. And Alex Kroll played for the New York Titans, which are now known as the Jets. When you look at Springdale, he's not an alum, but Dick DeVenzio, the great Ambridge basketball player, he left for Ambridge in 67 after his junior season with his father. And so, you know, they've had some good ones. Jim Conley was a defensive end who played on Springdale's undefeated 59 team that didn't make the playoffs because of Gardner points. So, you know, he went on to captain the Michigan in the 1965 Rose Bowl.
Ryan Wilson picking up the first down there for the Leechburg Blue Devils. And speaking of Mickey Morandini, how about a little unassisted triple play by Mickey Morandini there for the Philadelphia Phillies?
Did you see he tagged out there?
Yeah, Barry Bonds at second base. A play that doesn't happen too often. It's happened, I think it's 13 times in Major League history, somewhere around that number. And almost predominantly it has been the line drive to the second baseman with runners at first and second, and them running. And you see the basketball career, the Olympic gold medal, Mickey Morandini, a tremendous career, and he is from Leechburg. Right now, Springdale leading Leechburg 48-0. We'll be back with the fourth quarter after this.
Here's another material handling solution from Equipco, confined area forklift. Hi, I'm Carl Swanson of Equipco. In today's economy, we have to reduce costs, increase productivity, and handle material more efficiently. Confined area forklifts from Equipco expand usable warehouse space, or reduce the amount of warehouse space you need. That saves your company money. And that's what Equipco Material Handling Solutions is all about. Call Equipco at 412-221-2800.
I bought my first car from them 40 years ago. 14 years ago.
4 minutes ago.
I bought a Cadillac. A Pontiac.
A Hyundai.
A Nissan. A Sandwich. A GMC SUV.
They treated me like a VIP.
Like I was Ben Roethlisberger. They treated me that way too. In 40 years, there's only one place I've ever gone.
Only one place I'll ever go.
From Robinson's to South Hills to Monroeville, no one treats you better than number one Cochran.
Pennsylvanians are killed each year trespassing at mines and quarries. I'm Kathleen McGinty, Secretary of Environmental Protection. Riding old mine sites and diving in abandoned quarries may look like fun, but those joy rides are suicide missions, and that diving is about dying. Emergency responders risk their lives on dangerous search and rescue missions. Mines and quarries are not playgrounds. They can kill you. Stay out and stay alive.
It's a new era for the Panthers, and every Pitt fan knows the team at FSN Pittsburgh will be there for every snap.
Offense turned it up full throttle.
From expert post-game analysis to exclusive interviews that get you inside the game. Plus, great players from the past remember historic Pitt games.
It was just kind of unbelievable.
This is the show that's built with the Pitt fan in mind. It's Panthers coverage you can count on. Panthers Weekly, Tuesdays at 7 on FSN Pittsburgh. Brought to you by the Barrel family of motors.
High school football Thursday on FSN Pittsburgh is brought to you by McDonald's. I'm loving it. By the Pittsburgh Tribune Review. Now you know. Call 1-800-909-TRIB to subscribe. By Highmark, Blue Cross Blue Shield. Have a greater hand in your health. By California University of Pennsylvania. Building character, building careers. And by Nike. Just do it. So Leechburg has the ball offensively at the 42-yard line. They just picked up a first down, and we have a running clock here as we head to the fourth quarter, and Springdale up by a score of 48-0 over the Dynamos, and Leechburg has kept that first-string offense in there. They are trying to get some points up on the board. Mitch is split to the right side, power eye to the right, and with the halfback option pass going deep, Mitch has got a step, and Mitch has got the grab, and Pat Mitch is going to go in for the score. 48 yards and a touchdown, and Leechburg has gotten themselves on the board offensively against Springdale, 48-6, and I think the important thing here, Kevin, is that they got some points on the board.
Yeah, in some sense, that's a moral victory for them. Duo score. It's only their second touchdown of the year, and a most deserving guy to get it. Pat Mitch, we've seen him play a heck of a game so far, and he's able to get in the end zone, do a little high stepping on his way in there. And Mitch was the leading receiver last year with 14 catches for 293 yards and 1 touchdown. So right now he's just doubled his career total.
And we see him; he's a good defensive player as well, and out there playing hard and. An excellent student we talked about earlier, 3.67 grade point average. I mean, an impressive young man, and good to see him in there battling, and the team hasn't quit. Now the handoff as they go for 2, and Wilson jumps over the right side and gets in. So Leechburg has gotten themselves on the board, 48-8, Veterans Memorial Stadium in Springdale.
Football is more than a game in our town. It's a way of life. From the Pee-wees to the pros, we eat, sleep, and think football 24/7. And speaking of eating, after the game, treat your team to the great taste of McDonald's Quarter Pounder with Cheese Extra Value Meal, or the Double Quarter Pounder with Cheese Extra Value Meal. From our team to yours, all the best this season.
Introducing Trib Total Media. We're more than daily and weekly newspapers. We're also radio, websites, magazines, penny savers, and television. So whatever you want, you can get it from us. Trib Total Media. We deliver newspapers and more.
Pat Mitch scores a touchdown for Leechburg, a 3-play, 70-yard drive. Touchdown pass to Mitch. Covers 58 yards to Sissio, ready to kick off, and now 48-8. But again, you heard Mark Jones talking about at halftime how proud he was of his team. They continue to battle late into this game. Kickoff here is taken back over the 35-yard line out to the 40. And let's go downstairs to Trenny Kuznera. Trenny?
All right, guys, things looking up for Leechburg. I'm down here with the Coca-Cola fans of the game. I've got Keegan and Ben. They'll win about $100 worth of stuff in a Coca-Cola cooler filled with really cool stuff like hats, shirts, even some binoculars. So our fans of the game tonight, Keegan and Ben from Leechburg High School.
Trenny, thanks very much. And we saw them showing up en masse. They were coming here, the Leechburg fans earlier, had a little chant going across the field. They look like one of those, European soccer teams. You know, they had the chant going and the faces painted and all that stuff. And, wow, a little confusing there. And evidently the reverse as Brian Strain is brought back for a big loss in the play. Go ahead,
Well, it looked like they almost faked out their own quarterback, and he was watching the guy that he faked the handoff to run downfield untouched. But, you already talked about Mark Jones and his influences and the positive attitude he's trying to have, and talk about how proud he's of his team. Well, he played for Jack McCurry at North Hills, but he also spent 5 years at Riverview under Jake Kappa, 1 year at Pine Richland with Claire Ultimus, and 2 years at Clarion Limestone under Clyde Conti, who was inducted to Pennsylvania Coaches Hall of Fame this summer. And he felt like he got a lot of influence from all three of those guys. But, he said that he really views himself as more of a player's coach, and he said, especially in high school, you have to be tough, you have to be a disciplinarian, but you have to remember these are kids and you're their teacher, and the things you say carry a lot with those guys. And he said, he's very animated on the sidelines, but he tries to watch what he says because he wants to have positive vibes going with his players. There's enough negativity going on when you lose as many in a row as they have, but he wants to, have them learn lessons from each game. And I think that says a lot about a guy. And, he has there's a lot of negativity that can creep through when you're losing games over and over. But if the head coach is, sending a positive message, eventually it's going to get turned around.
We saw Jesse Smith jumping that play defensively for Leechburg to bring up a 3rd and 22, and all kinds of substitutions. Springdale continues to empty their bench and bring new players in, and quick give in motion, and the ball is loose, fumbled, and let's see who landed on it. Looks like Andy Muka might have gotten it back. The senior getting some action on the reverse, and he did indeed fall on it. And Springdale will be in an obvious punting situation here. Well, I would think it's an obvious punting situation. We'll see what they do. Up 48-8 here with 4th and about 28 yards to go. And they have brought the punt team on, and they'll kick it away.
Well, if there's one sign that there's a little bit of bright spot in the future of Leechburg's football program, it's that there's only 31 players on the varsity, but there's 37 on the 7th and 8th grade teams. And so that's something that they can look at. In the junior varsity, they've won a game. They lost another game by 2 points when intentional grounding was called out of the end zone. So they lost by a safety. But, they feel like it's going to be turned around in the lower age groups. And the 7th and 8th grade team, the 9th and 10th grade team, they have some sophomores that have gotten some serious playing time tonight. So eventually, Mark Jones believes he's going to turn this thing around at Leechburg.
Mark Jones, Tommy, earlier this week, last winning season was 1991. You mentioned the young players going out for the team at the 7th and 8th grade level. He's also started a flag football program. There's no youth football at all. There's no organized football for the kids to play until 7th grade in the community. So he started a flag football program for the younger kids, hoping to get them introduced. And you saw the quote there talking about having very good.
On the offense, 5-yard penalty.
It's 4th now and 33. But you saw the quote there, and he's trying to remain positive, trying to remain upbeat, trying to get a good feeling about high school football in the community as we have another flag down, and there'll be 5 more yards. And that'll bring up 4th and 43, not something that you get to talk about too much.
No, they'll be lucky if they can.
4th and 38, let's call it. Now
they'll be lucky if they can punt the ball back to the original line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
Especially when you have your backup punter in the game.
Repeat 4th down.
But, Mark Jones, again, trying to get something positive going. And, the youth football and the fact that there are more kids going out. And, he said, hey, we're not going to lose every game this year. They're going to try to find a way to win one. And again, that might get a good feeling going as well. Near block on that kick. Instead, it rolls where Matus can pick it up at the 45-yard line, looking for some room. Juke cuts back the other way. Nice-looking run here by Matus. Gets to the outside, stays on his feet, and finally is run out of bounds. Got about 8 or 10 yards on that return and did most of it on his own. We'll be back in Veterans Memorial Stadium in Springdale after this.
You cheer every play, every first down, every end zone celebration. You bust your tonsils play after play and scream and shout like you've got a 260-pound linebacker on your tail. Then throw down a cold as ice Coke and get right back at it. Why? Because you can. Because you have to. Coca-Cola Football Town, USA.
Glory, delivered weekly on the Highmark High School Sports Practice. Sunday mornings at 9.
Welcome back to Veterans Memorial Stadium in Springdale, where the Dynamos are leading the Blue Devils by a score of 48-8, 8:36 remaining on McDonald's High School football Thursday. Reminder, immediately following the show, we'll have the Pittsburgh Tribune Review shebang with our man Kevin Gorman, and we'll be looking ahead to tomorrow night's key matchups around the WPIL.
There'll be some good games. I'll be seeing Mount Lebanon play Upper St. Clair, one of the fiercest rivalries in the Whitfield, two teams that truly do not like each other.
And TJ Phillips brings the team up to the line of scrimmage, power I formation. Official stops, and we have a timeout called by Springdale. So I'm not sure if they didn't have the right personnel out on the field, but they had to call a timeout. And a reminder that Pittsburgh Sports Tonight is coming up tonight at 10 o'clock. What's the latest with quarterback Ben Roethlisberger for the Steelers? You know, when you see a guy listed as probable, you pretty much chalk it up that he's going to be played, but Roethlisberger downgraded to questionable after today's practice. Sidney Crosby getting on the ice tonight. Today I was over there earlier at Mellon Arena doing some interviews for some specials we're doing on the two Stanley Cup championship years for the Pittsburgh Penguins, and heard a few roars, and the loudest was for about a 40-foot assist set up to Mark Recchi from Sidney Crosby. So already the kid has people roaring in their seats, and they haven't even played an exhibition game yet, much less a real game. Give over the right side to Wilson, going to pick up 3 or 4, and our McDonald's player of the game for Springdale is that guy right there, Mike Landers, the senior. We talked about him a little before the game. It's 14 yards rushing, 103 yards receiving, 3 touchdowns, an interception. I mean, this guy just did it all.
He did. Starting from the very first play from scrimmage, a 10-yard touchdown run. He did it not only with his legs, he did it catching the ball. Nice touchdown pass here. He had another touchdown and interception. Mike Landers is just, on both sides of the ball, the star of the game. And, he's very deserving of that honor.
As we saw TJ Phillips try to go up top to Pat Mitch, and Pat Mitch is our McDonald's player of the game for the Leechburg Blue Devils. 4 receptions, 74 yards, that touchdown. A little more air into this one, might have been touchdown number 2.
Yeah, and Mitch, they got a hand in his face, but he was able to score, put some points on the board, which is very important for the Blue Devils. It's only their second touchdown of the season. He also has been a standout defensively, making a lot of tackles, especially downfield. He's probably saved a few more touchdowns from being put on the scoreboard.
And give credit to Todd Rupert, the backup quarterback, who on the little halfback option pass threw that ball right on the money to Mitch for the touchdown. 3rd and 6 or 7 yards, call it 3rd and 6. 6:54 remaining, and the give to DeCiccio, and the big guy barrels forward, and we'll have first down yardage, it appears, inside the 25, down to about the 23-yard line. And they're going to mark it now at the 22, so that is going to be a first down for the Leechburg Blue Devils.
Well, Rob, one thing you have to take into consideration when you look at a game that's so lopsided score is that how many young kids are on the field for the Leechburg Blue Devils. Not only the quarterback, TJ Phillips, is a sophomore, but you also have the center, Calvin Craig. So these guys will be around for the next couple of years. The left tackle, Eric Sulava, Matus and McFall on defense. This is a team that, don't judge how they play against Springdale tonight. Let's judge how they are 2 years from now, and then we'll know what kind of a job Mark Jones has done with this program and whether they are on the right track, because these guys are going to get a lot of plays, and by the time they're seniors, some of the mistakes that they're making should be things that they're doing flawlessly.
Bryce Hope, Justin Beatty, our juniors right now, and you mentioned Craig and McFall. Jesse Smith is a junior. Sheldon Lochner is a junior. So Todd Rupert, who threw that halfback option pass, is a junior. So there are juniors and sophomores who are going to come back for this team next year. The sophomore class, you mentioned a strong sophomore class. There's some juniors that are going to help contribute as well. And Coach was telling me before the game that he felt was to give off the right side to Wilson. He felt like there's some real leadership in that sophomore group as well. Not to say there isn't in the senior group, but you want a new feeling, you want a new era, you want a new beginning, and if you have a class of kids that are strong leaders, they'll not only carry the ball when it's their turn, but they can also bring up the group of kids behind them and take them under their wing and be leaders as well, which is one of the things that Coach Wagner talked about his seniors. He talked about their dedication in the off season and how that's helped the entire program. They've been that way since they've been sophomores. and maybe they got some passed on from the upperclassmen. They pass it on now, and they become almost like coaches in the offseason, policing the offseason workouts and that sort of thing. As we see Wilson get all the way down to the 2 to about the 1-yard line, as Leechburg is knocking on the door once again.
Yeah, and you got to hope some of these guys, maybe they'll have some talented little brothers coming up along through the program as well. And that's really the key when you have a guy like a Lucas Cox, who's now at Iowa. He was one of the stars of that 2003 championship team. Devin's his younger brother. You know, Devin got to follow in Lucas's footsteps. Now it's his turn. You know, that's what you want to do, is you want to have them pass along from generation to generation, from brother to brother, that winning tradition and, you know, that positive attitude.
Well, Springdale has 13 players on the field. 2 ran off and 2 ran on and nobody came off, and so they had to call a timeout with 4:33 remaining here, and Mark James will come out on the field again and try to coax some more points out of his Leechburg Blue Devils offense, and you know that these are times where he's just trying to get his kids to stay the course, remain positive, and see what you can do, see if we can score something here. You know, hey, 48 to 14 or 48 to 16 is going to sound a lot better than 48 to nothing. And you know, clearly, Chuck Wagner has removed his first stringers and even some of his second stringers, but Mark James is going to keep battling along. These are moments where you help build character for a team, even if you're losing them.
It really doesn't, especially when you want to teach the kids about execution. You know, this is a 2nd and goal. You should score a touchdown. That's what you want. That's the mindset you want them to think. I don't care if you're playing against the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd string. You should score a touchdown regardless of who it is, because you're in one of the situations where the odds are in your favor, except for maybe when the team has 13 players on the field. But we're taking care of that. So.
Yeah. But that's always a tough defense to move against. Yeah.
But this is something that, you know, you're hoping that C.J. Phillips, you know, takes advantage of this situation, shows some leadership, and this is what helps him grow as a player.
So the Springdale Dynamos, Coach Wagner saying you get the whistle on the play. They're a championship caliber team. You know, I asked him, I said, hey, is this a team that can contend? He said, I think we're a championship caliber team. He's not about to shy away from that, and you know, he knows what it takes. He's been coaching for a long time. He won one just a couple years ago with some of these same players at Springdale.
On the defense, half the distance to the goal.
Once again, some substitution difficulties there for Springdale getting all their defensive personnel out into the field. So moves it a yard closer down to the 1-yard line. 2nd and goal from the 1. With just about 4.5 minutes left here in the 2nd half. Phillips on the center will give to DeCiccio, and he barrels in for a touchdown. And that cuts the lead to 48 to 14 now with 4:27 on the game clock here at Veterans Memorial Stadium remaining in the 4th quarter. And you know, there's Mark James, trying to stay positive, runs out into the field. That's something to tell his quarterback, T.J. Phillips, who wants to keep things positive. DeCiccio there just lowers his shoulder. And boy, you notice, we talked about it, 4.8 speed for a big guy, got some nimble feet. I mean,
when he lowers the shoulder, people duck out of the way.
Oh, that's a big load coming your way, no question about it. A 2-point conversion attempt given to Wilson, and he sprints in untouched over the left side. So it's 48 to 16 now with 4:27 remaining in the 4th quarter, and Leechburg continuing to fight to the end. And the folks here at Springdale have been given a real treat by their Dynamos as well.
Well, that's a nice treat for DeCiccio, too. It's kind of a nice thing for the senior fullback to get after 32 carries on number 33. He finally gets in the end zone. You know, so the guy is averaging nearly 5 yards a carry. So there's a reason he's back there in that backfield. We talked about how he can get moving and everything. But he's a guy, you know, especially in that situation, you see him serve his purpose when it's a 2-yard run, and there's really very little question whether he's going to get in the end zone.
We talked about Chuck Wagner, who played his college football at Bucknell and coached there 1 year before joining Oakmont staff as an assistant in 1959. He became the head coach in 1961. Became Riverview several years later, was there for 25 years, 3 years at Fox Chapel, and the last 13 at Springfield, which has delighted the people here. When you look at the scores that this offense has gone up, and give some credit to Matt Nolan, another Bucknell grad who joined the staff in 1993, and Chuck Wagner came over here and is the offensive coordinator. 41 points against Union, 40 points against Monaca, 48 points against Apollo Ridge. 48 more points so far tonight. This is an offense that has been most impressive. And let's face it, too, Kevin, it's an offense whose first stringers have not seen much of the second half this season.
No, not at all.
Loose ball and is jumped upon by Taylor Shaw, the sophomore who's out there on the kick return team. As we take a look back to the 2003 championships at Heinz Field.
When you're going up against the Sto Ross Vikings, which was led by Adam DeMichael, the all-time passing leader, but the game was all about Springdale and the running. Mondikis was able to break away. You see him get past DeMichael there, and you see John Molnar and gang. They really brought back some excitement to Springdale. You know, there was 30 years between Whitfield championships and 29 years between playoff appearances. So you can imagine, you know, I was born in '73. You know, these guys, you know, it's a half a lifetime basically that this community had to wait for that moment. And they put up the 5 plaques from the Whitfield championships on this press box. And so it's something that they're surely proud of.
Yeah, they are. This community has showed up today. They blocked off the streets behind the stadium, had a little festival going on. They had a children's singing group out here, and you know, Hugh Green and Mike Rozier show up. You know, it's been a big time event for this school, this game tonight, and the way this football program has surged over the last several seasons, and has you see the WPIL championships there, has really given this community a lot to be proud of. Up over the right side and picking up first down yardage is Andy Muka.
Well, I think, you know, in actuality, even though they're on the other side of the scoreboard, on the lopsided part of it, this is nice for Leechburg too, because how often do you hear about a team when they go 0-9? Do you hear about their players? You know, we've found out about some players tonight. You see Mike DeCiccio and Pat Mitch, and we know to look for T.J. Phillips in the future, and they've got some nice young players, and these guys got the exposure tonight, and that's really what this is all about, is giving exposure to high school football, whether you're on a team that's ranked number 1 or you're on a team that hasn't won a game in 12 or 13 games. That's something that really benefits these kids in the long run.
And a chance to celebrate what high school football is all about. And the McDonald's truck came by today as part of the festivities. They have the interactive thing going on, and this was earlier today outside, and you know, kids are crowded around having a good time as they're getting into it, and you know, showing them the videos and doing all the interactive stuff, and really neat stuff. And you know, the kids were you know, when you pull in here at 5 o'clock and the place is mobbed already, it's some turnout from this community. Give over the right side, now to cut back and battling forward, picking up more yardage, dragging tacklers is Brian Strain. Good hustling run by Brian Strain, the junior, who is going to pick up first down yardage once again as we get down towards 2 minutes remaining here in the game. 2:11 is where the clock stops. And this is a chance for some kids to, you know, look, coach, next year some of these guys are going to graduate, and you might want to think about me. And I'll tell you what, you know, there's a kid on defense, and we didn't talk about him a whole lot tonight for the Dynamos, Justin Seagrove. He's a senior. Last year as a junior, he was playing junior varsity football. He did not seem to be a guy, give off the right side, picking up more yardage, battling his way forward as Andy Muka, and he did not seem to be a guy that would fit into the plans at all. And here it is, you know, probably the best team in single-A football. Justin Seagrove came out, continued to hustle, continued to work hard, and there was just something about his attitude and energy that caught the coach's eyes in camp this year, and lo and behold, he is the starting linebacker. You know, Coach Wagner, you know, said, I never would have thought it would have happened, but, you know, kids keep hustling, kids keep battling. You know, maybe in a game like this, you're catching a coach's eye and saying, hey, I deserve some more playing time.
And you hear a lot about kids that are you know, great under the Friday night lights, but, you know, it's the guys that really work their butts off in practice, you know, do it in the weight room, do all the little things that the coaches are asking to do, and they do it without having to be asked to do it. They do it because they want to be there. Those are the guys that when they come out on Friday night, the game seems easy to them.
That was Sean Kutcho going over the right side, the freshman, picking up some positive yardage as well, and pretty much everybody getting a chance to play earlier this year. Springdale's had at least one game where all 52 players on the roster had a chance to get in the game. Over the left side and brought down again after a short gain is Luke Douglas. So Luke Douglas, a 5'3", 328-pound sophomore, gets a chance to get in there and get a carry.
And you can look at the excitement around this program when you say 51 players on the varsity. I think Chuck Wagner told me when he got here in '93, they had 19 kids on the team at one point. And so, you know, you got to worry about injuries, and you got 11 out there on the field at one time. You only have 8 on the sidelines. you see these coaches, sometimes they'll put more coaches there just so their sidelines don't look fair.
And I think that's going to be the last play of the game as Luke Douglas takes it up the middle and gets down to about the 10-yard line, and reserves in there for that Leechburg defense as well, as Mark Jones gets a chance to get some of his players out on the field as well. Now they're gathering them all over there, and Coach Chuck Wagner's going to come up with a W. Coach Mark James, hopefully some things to build on, clapping his hands and walking over to cheer his team. And Coach Chuck Wagner, another impressive performance tonight for Springdale.
For the Dynamos, like we've said all night, they certainly look dynamic. Very impressive performance on their part to get ahead on this game very early and to put it out of reach by halftime.
Kevin Gorman, thank you very much. Kevin Gorman is going nowhere because immediately following McDonald's High School football Thursday, the Pittsburgh Tribune Review post-game show. We'll get you ready for all the big matchups coming up this weekend in the WPIL. Your final score, 48-14.
This is where we bust our hump all year, off season, in season, preseason, for this moment here. And son, you ain't better than that. This is what it's all about. Nobody steps on our field. Today's the day. Today's the day. Every team wants to be here. Every president plays football. This is what they want. They walk on that field all cocky, looking like they know what they want, but they know what they're going to get. Hey, we're playing football.
Hello and welcome to the Pittsburgh Tribune Review High School Edition. I'm Brent Silver. Tonight we are all over local high school football as we traverse the Whitfield to talk to some of the top teams in the area, and we profile one of the Western PA's top running backs who is off to an unbelievable start. But first we head to the South Hills, where Upper St. Clair is quietly going about another unbeaten season. Legendary head coach Jim Render has his chances at 3-0, which should be no surprise to anybody. Dan Potak has the story.